Chapter 505. Qin Yutong tore open the spicy strip and said with a smile, "No, I just got one." "That's good." LV Shu tied herself up again and stared at the scene that was filled with a strange aura. So oppressive. It is indeed very oppressive, especially when she saw the snacks in the red plastic bag at the side. It became even more oppressive. The blood plates suddenly emitted out a layer of dense blood mist, but there wasn't a lot of blood mist. Moreover, after the blood mist appeared, cracks appeared on the surface of the blood plate, and soon after, the blood plate shattered, and the crisp body of the blood plate was just like a potato chip that Qin Yutong had bitten off. Crunch crunch. The four turned their heads and looked at Qin Yutong, who was currently eating chips. Qin Yutong smiled awkwardly. "It is already midnight, it is normal to be a little hungry." "Yutong, the atmosphere has been ruined by you," Brett said in a low voice. Qin Yutong blinked her beautiful eyes. "Ruined atmosphere?" LV Shu held onto her chin and muttered, "If those people were to hear this, I really don't know what kind of reaction they would have." "Sisters, let's eat while watching. This Wangzai milk is mine." Qin Yutong immediately took away the Wangzai milk. Brett said faintly, "I will take the Nutrition Express then." The atmosphere was a little strange. Brett was completely unaware of it. He opened the bottle cap and took a small sip, and an unknown white liquid could be seen on the corner of his mouth. Look, that blood mist has turned into Ultraman." Qin Yutong hurriedly cried out in surprise. At the scene, that blood mist could be seen gradually forming into a human shape, and not long later, a handsome man appeared. He had a high nose bridge, a face that seemed as if it was carved by a knife, and his melancholy gaze was simply a lady killer. He was wearing a blood-red robe that had black patterns on it, and his white hair was scattered behind his back, slowly fluttering in the wind. "So handsome," Qin Yutong said. Brett nodded his head. Zishan also followed up and said, "He is indeed very handsome." Yihong almost felt like he was going to bleed. So it turns out that Zishan likes handsome men. This point can't be changed no matter what. LV Shu patted on her little brother's shoulder. "You will never be that handsome in this lifetime. He looks like a cosplay big brother." He even added cosmetic contact lenses, beautifying and filtering functions. Qin Yutong smiled. "Big sister, he's a blood demon who's going to bring disaster to the world. He's not some little big brother, and he doesn't even know how to wear contact lenses. Can't he be a qualified captive?" Seeing the birth of the blood demon, Feng Tian was extremely emotional. He immediately knelt down and kowtowed. "Long live the blood demon." Blood demon was silent for a moment. His whole body was covered in a haze. He closed his eyes and took a deep breath. This is the feeling of being reborn. Feeling the power in his hand, the blood demon looked up at the sky and flicked his index finger. A red speck of light floated towards the huge chimney. When it came into contact with it, the chimney seemed to be corroded. It decreased at a speed visible to the naked eye and then disappeared. "All hail the blood demon!" Feng Tian and the others shouted in unison. Qin Yutong, who was drinking Wangzai milk, said faintly, "Praising a chimney and you call it mighty, this mighty thing is really worthless." Everyone couldn't help but nod. This destructive power was too weak. The blood demon put his hands into his sleeves and looked at the man lying on the ground. He said in a cold voice, "Is this a greeting gift?" Feng Tian, who had his head lowered, was shocked. He didn't expect to be discovered. As expected of the blood demon. Even after breaking the seal, he is still so powerful. He immediately gestured to Feng Di, and the magic formation under the blood demon's feet was activated. Instantly, the red light intensified, and Feng Tian, who was lying on the ground, slowly stood up. His black and gold eyes stared at the blood demon in front of him. The blood demon slightly narrowed his eyes and felt the might emitted by the formation. The corner of his mouth curled up slightly. "No matter what, I still have to thank you for releasing me. Blood demon, submit to me. I can lead you to conquer this world." Feng Tian clenched his fists tightly and stared at the blood demon as he spoke boldly. The blood demon laughed lightly and slowly spat out, "Ignorant human, the blood demon, have never lowered my head to anyone or anything. If you kneel down and submit to me now, I will spare your life on the account that you released me. It seems like we both want to be the boss. Golden radiance suddenly condensed on Feng Tian's hands. Looking at it from afar, it looked like golden gloves. Looking at the weapon that Feng Tian released, the blood demon said faintly, I didn't expect an ordinary human like you to have an immature ancient godly item. It is enough to deal with you now. The blood demon's lips curled into a cold smile. It took me a lot of effort to break the seal. However, you know nothing about my strength. Boom. As soon as the blood demon finished his words, a majestic bloody aura gushed out from the blood demon's robe. Like raging waves, it swallowed the surrounding men in suits instantly. The bloody aura wrapped around the blood demon's body like jelly. After a long time, it crawled back into the blood demon's robe. The surrounding men in suits all bled from their 7 apertures and died. Only Feng Di still had a trace of aura. Seeing that his subordinate had died, Feng Tian did not stop him. Instead, he said faintly, as expected of the blood demon. Even after breaking the seal, he is still so powerful. Of course. Otherwise, how could he have been sealed? What a pity. Feng Tian let out a long sigh and his golden eyes became even deeper. The blood demon was confused. What's a pity? It's a pity that I want to tell you what you know about my strength. You know nothing about it. Haha. Hearing that, the blood demon laughed wildly. It was as if he was laughing at the ants in front of him who didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Qin Yutong, who was peeling peanuts, pouted her mouth. These two sure know how to boast. That's right, look at how low profile I am. LV Liang laughed and squeezed out a piece of tofu skin. Brett snorted coldly, 2 insignificant ants are just boasting to each other. Qin Yutong squeezed out a piece of gluten and bit into it. Don't talk about me like that, at the very least, I am still very powerful, alright? A fight between elementary school students. Zishan said. Yi Hong really wanted to refute, for example, ask elementary school students to fight like this, but he didn't dare to refute his wife. It was fortunate that the blood demon and Feng Tian didn't hear the conversation between the women. If not, they would definitely join hands to deal with Qin Yutong first. However, it seems like I won't be able to win against them either. A blood sword appeared in the hands of the blood demon. The entire sword looked as if it was flowing with blood. The blood demon raised his hand and lightly caressed the body of the sword, then said faintly, this sword was forged using the blood of my clansmen. Although it cannot compare to a prehistoric godly item, it can still be considered to be a second-grade prehistoric godly item. The sword in my hands is the golden light glove, but if I add your blood and qi into it, it will become a true prehistoric godly item. Feng Tian stretched out both of his fists, and a terrifying aura was emitted out from the golden light glove, which actually condensed into a golden light and attacked towards the blood demon. Chapter 506. The golden light and the red light collided. Boom. The collision created a huge shockwave that swept across the area. The abandoned factory that was on the verge of collapse collapsed instantly. Dust flew everywhere. Qin Yutong and the others had no choice but to leave. They didn't want their clothes to be dirted. The 5 of them sat in the air and looked down. It felt good. The angle was just right. Luckily, they were in the suburbs and it was an abandoned place. So, they didn't cause any commotion. When the dust was blown away by the wind, Feng Tian and Blood Demon were standing in the ruins. Their bodies were glowing and they were easy to recognize. Blood Demon, submit to me and offer your blood qi. You can have anything you want. Feng Tian wanted to use another method to obtain Blood Demon's blood qi. He didn't expect Blood Demon to be so powerful. His plan was wrong. Blood Demon waved the blood sword in his hand and said calmly, I want your life now. Seems like there is no way to negotiate. That's right. Feng Tian took a deep breath and shouted. Spiritual energy erupted from his body. The broken stones on the ground floated up and the ground started to tremble. This was just the aura he released. Blood Demon didn't want to be outdone. His body shook. Blood qi was released from his body. It was filled with ghostly wails and wolf howls, making people feel pressured. Actually, Feng Tian's guess was right. This wasn't Blood Demon's true strength. After being sealed for so long, he was already very weak. It would take a long time for him to recover. Now, he was just forcefully holding on. Although he was forcefully holding on, he could still fight against Feng Tian. This showed how powerful he was when he wasn't sealed. Unfortunately, he was sealed before he could harm the world. Feng Tian roared in anger as he punched out with his golden fist. His speed was extremely fast as a wave of qi swept across the area, shaking the heavens and the earth. This was just a simple punch, but it was able to create such a strong pressure. It was all because of the golden light set in his hand. Blood Demon's eyes narrowed. His body was weak now. Escaping was the best option. However, this was his first battle. How could he escape? A strong cultivator naturally had his own pride. Even if he knew he was going to die, he would still fight to the end. He placed the blood sword in front of his chest. The dazzling golden fist immediately smashed onto the blood sword, producing a dazzling circular vibration wave. It was a beautiful sight. The Blood Demon actually took a step back, his right foot sinking deep into the ground. Ah, Divine Fist! A terrifying aura appeared on Feng Tian's right hand. He didn't expect it to be so easy to get close to him. This Blood Demon was really arrogant. The dazzling golden light illuminated the entire sky and blasted towards the Blood Demon with a destructive force. The Blood Demon furrowed his brows and once again placed the blood sword in front of his chest. Boom! Suddenly, the Blood Demon's body slid back more than 10 meters, leaving a deep groove in the ground. It was truly terrifying. Blood Demon, if you submit to me now, you still have a chance to live. Feng Tian twisted his shoulders, and his hands opened and closed. Golden light flourished, and the more he fought, the more imposing he became. Really? Feng Tian's eyes widened because the voice came from behind him. He didn't have time to think and immediately pulled away. Instantly, he felt a sharp pain on his shoulder. The blood sword was like a baby, greedily sucking the blood. The Blood Demon looked at Feng Tian, who was pulling away. I told you. You don't know my strength at all. Even though I'm weak right now, you're still not my match. Feng Tian looked at the wound on his arm. He didn't expect the Blood Demon to be so fast. How infuriating! Feng Tian had the advantage of weapons, but the Blood Demon wasn't someone to be trifled with. This was a man who said that he would bring disaster to the world. If he didn't have some skills, he wouldn't dare to say such arrogant words. Blood Demon, don't force me. Feng Tian shouted in a deep voice. So what if I force you? Feng Tian's expression changed drastically. The Blood Demon was clearly in front of him, but the voice came from behind him. He didn't have time to think and dodged hurriedly. Instantly, he felt a sharp pain on his thigh. The Blood Demon stuck out his scarlet tongue and licked the blood on his sword. I will stab you to death, one stab at a time. Feng Tian panted heavily. This Blood Demon was indeed powerful. As expected of a sealed character. He had thought too little of him. Blood Demon, I will give you another chance. If you submit to me now, you might still have a chance to live. Feng Tian shouted in a deep voice, and his golden eyes started to spin. Human, your shameless words will cause you to die a painful death. Feng Tian heaved a sigh of relief and the golden light set in his hand disappeared. The Blood Demon chuckled when he saw Feng Tian's actions. But, not fighting anymore? Feng Tian stared at the Blood Demon and removed his mask with his right hand. No, I have already given you a chance. You didn't cherish it. The mask fell to the ground slowly. The left side of Feng Tian's face wasn't skin at all. Instead, it was golden like his eyes. It was very textured, as if his face was coated with a layer of gold oil. However, the Blood Demon didn't find it funny, because he couldn't see through Feng Tian the moment he removed his mask. This caused the Blood Demon's heart to sink. After removing his mask, Feng Tian didn't move at all. This caused the Blood Demon to feel a sense of pressure. He who attacked first had the upper hand. The Blood Demon used his insane speed again and instantly appeared behind Feng Tian. He swung his sword. However, The blood demon's eyes widened in disbelief as he watched his opponent grab his blood sword. How was this possible? While Blood Demon was distracted for a moment, a fist came at him with an ear-piercing sound. The speed was so fast that even Blood Demon could not react in time. His left cheek caught the other party's fist, and his body was sent flying like a cannonball, crashing into the ruins. Qin Yutong, who was eating melon seeds in the air, had a dumbfounded look on her face. What's going on? He suddenly rose to power? He was beaten up badly just now. Zishan said in a deep voice. He should have used some kind of secret technique. It's not a secret technique. It's just that his mask is suppressing his own power. However, from the looks of it now, it's as though he's a completely different person. Maybe he's a completely different person before and after the mask, Brett speculated. He had seen this phenomenon before. LV Liang drank her Pepsi and mumbled, "That blood demon is going to be in big trouble." It had to be said that the blood demon was indeed very unlucky. Back then, he had vowed to bring disaster to the common people. In the end, he was sealed by a group of people before he could even step out of his house. So many years had passed, and he had just come out when he met someone with ulterior motives. Moreover, his strength was so strong. In actuality, the blood demon shouldn't be called the blood demon, he should be called the misfortune demon. Feng Tian, who was in the middle of the battlefield, suddenly let out an eerie laughter. "Useless fellow. You still want me to come and help you, trash?" After saying that, he shot out and dived into the ruins. Chapter 507. A series of maniacal laughter reverberated in the ruins. Feng Tian's body was like a ghost as he appeared above Blood Demon's head. Feng Tian clasped his hands together and raised them high. Then he ruthlessly struck the Blood Demon's head. Boom! A shockwave spread out in the sky and Blood Demon's body fell again, creating a huge crater in the ground. However, Feng Tian did not notice the 5 women in the sky. The Blood Demon in the pit slowly stood up. Before he could react, a black shadow appeared in front of him. Feng Tian ruthlessly punched Blood Demon's abdomen. Blood Demon's entire body bent as he endured the tremendous force. This was an unreasonable and violent attack. There was no strange cultivation technique, only the power of his fists, which made it impossible to fight back. Coupled with that strange speed, it was simply impossible to defend against. If it was the Blood Demon at full strength, then there was still a chance to fight back. Unfortunately, this was the weakened version of the Blood Demon, so it could not fight back at all. Even the blood sword fell to the ground. Feng Tian grabbed Blood Demon's neck with his left hand and lifted him up. At this moment, Blood Demon's face was already swollen. His handsome appearance was gone forever. Bang! His right fist landed on the Blood Demon's abdomen once again, and the ground beneath Feng Tian's feet cracked from the impact. Bang! Another punch landed on the Blood Demon's abdomen. The Blood Demon's body was getting softer and softer, and his aura was getting weaker and weaker. A few more punches would probably kill him. This Feng Tian was truly terrifying. His strength was unimaginable. If Yi Zizi knew that such a person existed, she would definitely challenge him. After all, Yi Zizi was the representative of strength. Even Yi Hua, who was his honor, was weaker than Yi Zizi in terms of strength. Trash, you can't even deal with such trash. After saying that, he punched Blood Demon again. Blood Demon was already on the verge of death, but he still had a breath of life left. If he punched again, he would die. Feng Tian ruthlessly threw Blood Devil to the ground and stepped on his chest. Blood Devil's chest caved in. It was too cruel. Blood Demon didn't even have the strength to speak now. His eyes were red and swollen from the beating, and he looked at the terrifying man in front of him with horror. He was the famous Blood Demon. Inhumane Blood Demon. But today, he was actually beaten to such a state by a person. Back then, those deities could only seal me up. Feng Tian lowered his head and looked at Blood Demon, and his golden eyes began spinning crazily. The Blood Devil was startled and began to struggle helplessly. What kind of move was this? Why did it feel like the blood chi in its body was surging, as if it was about to break out of its body? After that, the golden eyes grew brighter and brighter. The blood chi in the blood demon's body was actually forcibly pulled out, and a huge amount of blood chi was absorbed by the golden eyes. The blood demon let out a mournful howl. This pain was no less than having his bones pulled out. Feng Tian's golden eyes were gradually dyed red, forming a pair of pupils that was half red and half gold. It was extremely strange. Blood demons Feng demon of blood Tian of Feng blood demons blood of the cries of pain continued, and the 5 women who were watching the show from the air were a little surprised. This blood demon is too pitiful, right? LV Liang hurriedly ate a spicy strip to calm herself down. Qin Yutong drank a mouthful of Wangzi milk. That's right, it's so miserable. Zi Shan suddenly took a glance at Yi Hong, and a golden light flashed past her beautiful eyes. Yi Hong was so frightened that he hurriedly looked elsewhere. My wife is too terrifying, this is a living warning to me. Brett said indifferently. After this man absorbed the blood demon, his strength increased greatly. How strong is it? Qin Yutong asked curiously. Brett stretched out his index finger, pressed his fingernail, and said, "It might be that strong." Everyone smiled helplessly. Others can't even compare to your fingernails. Stop bragging. After a long while, Feng Tian finally stopped. Although Blood Demon was still alive, he wanted to die right now. Feng Tian picked up the mask on the ground and put it on. His body trembled and he seemed to have changed again. Slowly walking to Gorfine's side, Feng Tian faintly said, "I've already told you, submit to me and you'll still have a chance to live. You won't listen." The Blood Demon glared at Feng Tian, as if saying, "Even if I die, I won't let you off. However, I still have to thank you for your blood chi, it was able to help me refine the Desolate Era's godly item. Also, I will accept your sword as well, you can just slowly wait for your death here." After finished speaking, Feng Tian walked into the ruins and carried Feng Di out. After that, he searched for the 5 women, but they were actually nowhere to be seen. I reckon that they were squashed to death. What a pity. After Feng Tian left, he left behind the blood demon who was on the verge of death. "Brett, did you use the GPS?" Qin Yutong warned. "The blood demon is a hidden danger. I have to know the location of the blood demon." Brett said calmly, "Don't worry." Qin Yutong was at ease. Since brother-in-law likes to act cool so much, when the time comes, I will let brother-in-law beat him up until he is unable to take care of himself. We have finished eating our snacks, let's go down and take a look at the blood demon. In any case, brother-in-law still wants to see him. Qin Yutong let out a light sigh. This was what she found out from the 2 brothers. Brother-in-law intentionally released the blood demon because he wanted to see how the blood demon would bring harm to the common people. But right now, not to mention bringing harm to the common people, the blood demon can't even take care of himself. The 5 women landed beside the blood demon, and when the blood demon sensed that more people had arrived, he slightly opened his eyes and saw that it was actually 5 women. When I look at him from such a close distance, he really looks miserable. His face is already swollen like this, and to think that I said that he was a handsome guy earlier. Qin Yutong squatted down and sized up the blood demon. The others squatted down as well, looking at the blood demon as if they were looking at a rare animal. This caused the blood demon to almost collapse. LV Liang lightly nodded her head. That's right, he was so formidable when he came out from the beginning. Especially that sentence, "You don't know anything about my strength," Brett said slowly. Qin Yutong let out a breath of relief. Look at him now, he got slapped in the face by others, right? Stop talking, the blood demon is coughing out blood. Zi Shan cried out in surprise. He coughed out a lot of blood. Right now, the blood demon felt even more despair than death. Their words were like sharp blades that pierced into his chest. Thinking back to how he was just now, he truly felt so humiliated. I actually said those words, and then I got beaten up by others. Qin Yutong persuaded, "Blood demon, don't be like this, how can a person not get beaten up in the underworld? This is normal, I was also beaten up by brother-in-law before." The scene immediately quietened down, and Qin Yutong's small face reddened. "Don't misunderstand, he only hit the back of my hand, not my butt." "Everyone," LV Liang asked in distress, The blood demon is already beaten up to such a state, what should we do? Should we still bring him back? That's right, if we were to bring him back, brother-in-law would be scared. Qing Yutong nodded her head. How about we just bury him, he is quite pitiful. Zishan said unhurriedly. Yi Hong's entire body immediately went numb. Chapter 508. LV Liang can't make the decision. What if his honor has other motives? Yi Hua immediately contacted Uncle Wei to see what Uncle Wei's decision would be. Right now, Wei Chang was currently sleeping while hugging onto Xiao Tang. Of course, it was the normal kind of hug. Hearing that LV Liang had already completed the mission and even captured the blood demon, Wei Chang immediately woke up. His honor wants to see this blood demon and see how he brings disaster to the common people. Without much time to think, Wei Chang hurriedly contacted his honor. Meanwhile, Yi Hua was also sleeping soundly while hugging onto Qinya. Tonight, I asked Qinya a few times, and even my wife fell asleep. I heard from Wei Chang that LV Liang captured the blood demon. This doesn't seem right. My request is to release the blood demon and not to capture it. However, since the blood demon is already captured, what else can I say? I should go and take a look first. After leaving behind a mirror image, Yi Hua arrived at Leisure Bar. Meanwhile, Qing Yutong and the others were too embarrassed to continue burying the blood demon, so they decided to let brother-in-law take a look first. The news of capturing the blood demon spread out very quickly, and even Lai Gu and Zhu Tian came over to take a look at the blood demon that brought disaster to the common people. Even Death Mage and Sun Fong came over to take a look. However, when everyone saw the blood demon, they felt that, is this really the blood demon that brought disaster to the common people? Why was he beaten up so miserably? Yi Hua didn't dare to believe that the person who was beaten up so badly was the blood demon. Wasn't he known to bring disaster to the common people? Why was he beaten up like this? Are you guys sure that this is the blood demon? Yi Hua lowered his head and asked gravely. LV Liang said respectfully, Your Honor, this is the blood demon. In the beginning, his image was still pretty good, but because he was acting cool, he ended up being beaten up like this. Lai Gu felt sad just by looking at the blood demon. Even his breastbone was stepped on. So pitiful. Zhu Tian secretly took a look at Brett, then continued to observe the blood demon, not knowing what he was thinking. I thought that this blood demon was a person that brought disaster to the common people, but in the end, I am truly disappointed. Yi Hua shook his head. He was a bit disappointed. Brother-in-law, quickly look, the blood demon is vomiting blood again. Qing Yutong cried out in surprise. The blood demon could be seen vomiting blood non-stop. Just now, he had been pretending to be unconscious, but when he heard those people's words, his heart felt pain. This is even more painful than being beaten up. I, a blood demon, is inhumane. I am a person that brings disaster to the common people. This was the first time he was sealed before he even stepped out of his house. The second time he came out of the seal, he was even beaten up. This was only the physical pain, but what happened next was like a sharp blade with blood stabbing into his heart. None of them were human. The blood demon was really pitiful. He didn't even use any moves and was beaten to the ground. On one hand, he had underestimated his opponent. On the other hand, Feng Tian was too strong. What a useless blood demon. You've been beaten to such a state, yet you still want to dirty my reputation. Yi Hua said coldly. With a light wave of his right hand, a green halo of light enveloped the blood demon, and the blood demon's external injuries started healing at a speed that was visible to the naked eye. Even the blood demon's sunken ribs started expanding. Tell me, how did he get beaten up like this? Yi Hua asked faintly. Why didn't Yi Hua kill the blood demon? Because there was a very good explanation for Yi Hua not killing the blood demon, and that was because Yi Hua himself was also a member of the blood demon race. Yi Hua wouldn't kill the blood demon recklessly, because Yi Hua himself was also a member of the blood demon race. In the past, Yi Hua even had the thought that the blood demon should unite and attack the humans. Unfortunately, his wish wasn't realized. LV Liang told Yi Hua about what happened. After listening to what happened, Yi Hua went into a slight daze. This blood demon was actually tricked by a human. This is truly a pleasant surprise. Furthermore, the human that LV Liang talked about seems to be very valiant. To be able to beat the blood demon to such a state with just his physical body, this is a bit formidable. Where is that person? Yihua took out a stick of cigarette and lit it up, then asked faintly. Brett said respectfully, "Your Honor, please be at ease, I have already locked onto his aura." Hearing Brett's words, Zhu Tian slightly looked over. Seeing that a layer of frost had appeared on Brett's beautiful face, Zhu Tian didn't say anything. "Very good, Brett. Keep a close eye on him first, see what exactly he is planning to do." "Yes." Brett knelt down and accepted the order. Everyone looked at the blood demon on the ground. He was actually pretending to be unconscious. Is he really a blood demon? Did he make a mistake? The blood demon thought that no one would be able to tell that he was pretending to be unconscious. However, that was a technique cast by a supreme overlord. No matter how heavy his injuries were, he would be able to recover. It wasn't that the blood demon didn't want to get up, but rather, it was truly too embarrassing. Furthermore, I feel that the group of people around me seems to be very formidable. I am a person who is going to bring calamity to the world. I am a lone wolf. How can I possibly team up with humans? Lai Gu kicked the blood demon on the ground, still pretending, "Get up." The blood demon remained unmoved. "I will get up just because you want me to get up. The blood demon, am..." Lai Gu stepped onto the blood demon's finger, causing the blood demon to let out a miserable cry and immediately sat up. This group of people is simply shameless. To actually use the method of stepping on someone's finger to wake someone up, so impolite. The blood demon took a look at the surroundings. Just now, I wasn't able to see the faces of those 5 women clearly. Now that I have a clear look at their faces, I can't help but exclaim in admiration. However, now isn't the time to exclaim in admiration. Those 5 men don't seem to be people that I can afford to offend. "You are the blood demon?" Yihua asked faintly. The blood demon's brows wrinkled. The voice came from behind him. He turned around and looked towards Yihua. "This man actually looks even better than me. How is this possible?" "That's right, I am the blood demon." Wei Chang shouted out coldly, "Audacious! Why aren't you saluting when you see his honor?" The blood demon's gaze became grave. "You are an overlord? Or are you one of those ancient deities?" Hearing that, Yihua suddenly laughed out loudly. Wei Chang, Lai Gu, and the others also revealed a smile on their faces. This is mocking the blood demon for being ignorant, to actually compare those low-class people with the great overlord. The ancient deities were much more high-class than ordinary deities. Take Heaven's Mansion for example. The ancient deities were just like a group of people that lived in the capital, and overlord belonged to the higher-ups of the ancient deities. As for deities like Heaven's Mansion, they might only live in a remote small city. Meanwhile, the blood demon directly mistook Yihua as an overlord or one of those ancient deities, causing Yihua to feel that it was funny. "Why aren't you kneeling down?" Brett shouted out coldly and immediately let out a strong pressure. Right now, how could the blood demon, who did not have any strength, be able to withstand Brett's anger? The blood demon directly kneeled down in front of Yihua and was unable to even stand up. Yihua kept away the smile on his face, then lowered his head and said, "Overlord? Ancient deities? They are all trash. The reason why they are still alive is because I, the supreme overlord, didn't touch them." Beads of sweat appeared on the blood demon who was kneeling on the ground as he asked, "Just who are you?" Impudent. To actually not use honorifics when facing an overlord. Brett shouted out again, and the pressure that he released increased once again, causing the floor that was beneath the blood demon's knees to crack. Although the blood demon had lost his strength, the body of the blood demon was still very tough. Chapter 509. Looking at the shock on the blood demon's face, Yihua felt a bit refreshed. I like this kind of look and of course, that look of despair. If the highest title is Supreme Overlord, then I will be the Supreme Overlord. Yihua breathed out a mouthful of smoke, and his tone was very indifferent, as if he looked down on this Supreme Overlord title. After hearing it for 5 years, he was already sick of hearing it. The blood demon was astonished. This man in front of me is actually the legendary Supreme Overlord. How is this possible? Why would a Supreme Overlord appear in this kind of place? This is very illogical. I heard that Supreme Overlords are all lone wolves, and I am also developing in this direction. Seeing that the blood demon was already scared to the point that he couldn't speak anymore, Yihua asked, I heard that you want to bring disaster to the world? The blood demon didn't dare to be careless anymore, and he shouted out respectfully, Your Excellency Supreme Overlord, my wish is to bring disaster to the world. Do you have a plan? Yihua asked faintly. The blood demon went into a daze. Plan? Of course, without a plan, how are you going to bring disaster to the world? For example, what are you going to do at the start, and what are you going to do after that? In actuality, Yihua didn't have a plan in the past, and he would just kill wherever he went, but now he knew the importance of a plan. I didn't even have the time to think of a plan before I was sealed. The blood demon said hesitantly. What is a plan? A plan can't keep up with changes. It is precisely because you didn't have a plan that you met with changes, and thus, you didn't have any countermeasures. To put it in simpler terms, you are stupid. Yihua shook his head. This blood demon is just ordinary. Other than being a different race like me, he doesn't have any outstanding abilities. Yihua continued, as a blood demon, I was actually tricked by someone. This is truly embarrassing. Your Excellency Supreme Overlord, that person is really powerful, you must believe me. Qing Yutong laughed. That is because you don't know anything about my brother-in-law's strength. Of course, it is different from what you said. The blood demon's white face slightly reddened. Upon thinking about how he said that he didn't know anything, his face really felt hot. Even if I keep that kind of person for now, he won't be able to cause any trouble. The blood demon hurriedly said, Your Excellency Supreme Overlord, that person absorbed my blood qi, and his strength greatly increased. Furthermore, he also has formless ancient godly items, and I'm afraid that they have already taken form. Their strength is even more terrifying. Yihua was satisfied with Blood Demon's attitude. Blood Demon told Yihua everything that he knew without hiding anything. I won't be beaten black and blue like you. Yihua said coldly. The Blood Demon didn't say anything. This was an unmatched supreme being, so he definitely had a way. Yihua had already lost interest in the Blood Demon, and he was instead interested in that Feng Tianlai. You can leave. Yihua said faintly. It was already extremely benevolent of him to heal his injuries. After all, both of them were from different races, and it wasn't easy for them to live. Blood Demon slowly stood up, cupped his hands and said, Thank you, Supreme Supremacy. Let's go, there's no need to bootlick anymore. Blood Demon took a deep breath, turned around and walked towards the door. I, Blood Demon, am a lone wolf. That's right, it was lone wolf. But sometimes a lone wolf needs the support of a pack. The Blood Demon stopped his footsteps, then turned around, walked toward Yihua, and knelt down. Supreme Overlord, please take me in. Why should I take you in? Yihua asked indifferently. Blood Demon went into a daze, then kowtowed to Yihua and said, I know how to clean, and I am able to mop the floor to the extent that I can lick it. Everyone, so it turns out that this Blood Demon isn't completely useless. He actually has such a talent. He is a hybrid talent. If this Blood Demon said something like dedicating himself to the utmost, Yihua would have chased him away and let him fend for himself. But after hearing what he said, Yihua's interest was piqued. Recently, Leisure Bar has indeed lacked a cleaner, and furthermore, this cleaner is free of charge. Let's see how I mop the floor and lick it first. Alright, I am looking forward to seeing you mop the floor. Thank you, Your Honor. Blood Demon was overjoyed. After all, if I mop the floor for a Supreme Overlord, I will have a lot of face. Blood Demon could be seen walking to the side, then picking up the bucket and the mop. He began to mop the floor. This is truly a hardworking Blood Demon. Don't look down on a hardworking man. He is someone who knows when to yield and when to stand tall. Yihua looked at everyone and started a commendation ceremony. This mission has ended. Those who deserve to be praised must be praised. In this mission, Everyone did well. Yi Hua swept his gaze across everyone and said gravely. Blood Demon, who was mopping the floor at the side, was very puzzled. What mission? Although my mission was to let you all release the Blood Demon reasonably and then see how he brings calamity to the common people, I didn't expect such a thing to happen. It is pardonable. Yi Hua's words almost caused the Blood Demon to fall. So my appearance was actually the Supreme Overlord's intention. The Supreme Overlord wanted to see how I bring calamity to the common people. My God, why did such a thing happen? So my appearance was actually someone else's mission. Everyone didn't care about the Blood Demon who was mopping the floor at the side at all. Hearing his honor's commendation, everyone present was very happy. Among them, LV Liang and Yi Hong's performance was not bad. As newcomers, to be able to do so much, it is truly not easy. Yi Hua said faintly. LV Liang and Yi Hong, who were heavily praised, kneeled on the floor and shouted, "Thank you, Your Honor, for your praise." Among them, there is also Wei Chang, Death Mage, and Sun Fang's help. All of them are worthy of praise. The three hurriedly kneeled on the floor and shouted out respectfully, "We serve Your Honor." Bright is also not bad. Upon hearing that, Bright became happy. Subordinate is not bad. The current stage of the mission ends here. Bright, you continue to investigate that man called Feng Tian. Yes. As for the rest of you, go and do what you are supposed to do, and reconcile with those who should reconcile with each other. I do not wish to hear any more about divorce. Do you understand? Yi Hua shouted out coldly, and a cold glint could be seen in his eyes. Everyone didn't dare to breathe loudly, and all of them kneeled on the floor. Subordinate obeys. Even the Blood Demon who was mopping the floor at the side also kneeled down. Since everyone is kneeling down, it doesn't seem right for me to not kneel down, right? Yi Hua nodded his head, then disappeared from Leisure Bar. Returning back to my bed and hugging my wife to sleep, this is the most comfortable thing in my life. Seeing that his honor had left, everyone let out a breath of relief and stood up. Zhu Tian looked at Bright, who was not far away from him, then slowly walked over and asked with concern, "Does your wound still hurt? I have some medicine with me." Scram! Bright shouted out coldly, then immediately disappeared from Leisure Bar's lobby. Pitiful, this is what a man is, only when he regrets will he know how to cherish. Zhu Tian was indeed regretting. When he saw Bright chopping off his own wing, his heart was aching endlessly. Although he heard that his honor said that Bright was fine now, Zhu Tian still wanted to ask about it. Chapter 5:10. Everyone, I'll be taking my leave first. After saying so, absolute heaven disappeared. Lai Gu pouted his mouth. I told him to scram, and he really scram. I scram as well. After Lai Gu left, Death Mage and Sun Fang left as well. Although they didn't say much, they were still very happy to be praised by his honor. Qin Yutong also left while yawning. This night was rather happy. Yi Zizi actually didn't join in. She is truly becoming more and more obedient. He really missed the old Yi Zizi. Wei Chang smiled at the Green and Red brothers and said, "You two have done well. Keep up the good work." "Thank you for your praise, Uncle Wei." The Green and Red brothers shouted respectfully. Uncle Wei was a good person. He was amiable and amiable. With a flick of Wei Chang's index finger, a mass of black fog enveloped the Green and Red brothers. Very soon, they returned to their original forms. However, the clothes that they were wearing were unbearable to look at. When Blood Demon saw this, his eyes almost popped out. So those two were men. Just now, I was so disgusting. Wei Chang patted on Yi Hong's shoulder. It's not easy for Zishan. Talk to her properly. Don't make her sad anymore. Yes, thank you for your concern, Uncle Wei. When she first joined the team, Yi Hong was not used to it. But now, she felt that it was a big family. Everyone looked out for each other, and it was very warm. Wei Chang and LV Shu also left first, leaving the space for Yi Hong and Zishan. Yi Hong was wearing women's clothing, and when she looked at Zishan, who had a cold expression on her face, she felt a little nervous and restless. He glanced at the Blood Demon who was mopping the floor. The Blood Demon paused and immediately turned around, pretending not to hear. He didn't expect this blood demon to have such a gossipy heart. Yi Hong coughed softly. Why are you still standing there? Go away first. Blood demon dragged the floor and slid behind the bar counter. Then he immediately stopped and leaned back to eavesdrop. Suddenly, blood demon felt someone behind him. He was so shocked that he became excited. Shu, Lai Gu glared at the blood demon, and when the blood demon turned his head around, he actually saw the so-called Uncle Wei. There was also the white-clothed Absolute Heaven. And that skeleton and Sun Fong. There was also LV Shu. Oh my god. So I'm not the only one who's gossipy, these people are all gossipy. Holy shit. Even a supreme being was here. Heavens, what kind of place was this? This was the home of gossip. Perhaps even Yi Hong did not expect that everyone who had just left would return and hide behind to watch the show. Originally, Yi Hua was preparing to sleep, but after hearing that Wei Chang said that there would be a good show to watch, he ran back. I want to see how this Yi Hong is going to beg his wife for forgiveness. Yi Hong could be seen swallowing her saliva, then walking towards Zishan. Stop right there. If you have something to say, say it. Don't come near me. Zishan's beautiful eyes turned cold as she shouted coldly. So fierce. Yi Hong immediately stood still and looked at Zishan while trembling with fear. Yi Hong didn't dare to go against Zishan in the slightest, as Zishan is someone that I can't afford to offend. Who's your wife? Didn't you want a divorce? Call me Zishan. I'm not familiar with you. The gore fiend thought to himself that human women were really fierce, too fierce. He's 10,000 times more savage than me, the blood demon. Yi Hong's heart sank when he heard his wife's words. Is she really going to divorce me? Zishan, don't be angry, can you listen to what I have to say? Yi Hong took in a deep breath. This matter is my fault. It is only right for me to be scolded by my wife. What Uncle Wei said is right. It is indeed not easy for Zishan to marry me, it has been too hard on her. Zishan snorted and did not say anything. Lai Gu had a look of disappointment on his face. Actually, Zishan being willing to stand here and listen to your explanation is giving you a chance. To not even understand this, you are too stupid. Only stupid people have stupid luck. Yi Hua said faintly. What your honor said is reasonable. What your honor said is too good. Your honor's words are spot on. The gore fiend thought inwardly. Damn it, all of you are just a bunch of bootlickers. Soon after, the gore fiend said, Your honor's words have touched the heavens, I am about to cry. Lai Gu and the others looked at the gore fiend. F***K, this shameless bastard. Yi Hong, who was at the scene, took in a deep breath and said gravely, Wife, I was wrong. Where are you wrong? Zishan shouted out, but she didn't refute Yi Hong's way of addressing her. Yi Hong really wished that his big brother was here to give him advice. Wife, I shouldn't have been fierce towards you, and I shouldn't have proposed a divorce. Yi Hong said weakly. You are still talking about a divorce. I won't say it, Zishan nodded her head, then continued, What else? Wife, I should be understanding of your difficulties. You treat me so well, and yet I was fierce towards you. I shouldn't have done that. Can you forgive me this once? After hearing what Zishan said, Lai Gu let out a deep sigh. People are forced out. Yi Hua said faintly, Aren't people forced out? The people who were hiding at the back were startled, and soon after, they looked at his honor with a gaze of worship. As expected of our leader. At the scene, Zishan's beautiful eyes were tightly staring at her husband, and the latter didn't dare to look straight at his wife's eyes. He was terrified like a dog. Look at me! Zishan shouted out. Yi Hong slowly raised his head, and when he saw his wife's cold and beautiful eyes, he immediately turned his face away. Where did your imposing manner that day go? Did it get eaten by a dog? Zishan was disappointed that her husband didn't live up to her expectations. Why is my husband so afraid of me? This is not a good sign. Yi Hong is such a person. If you love her, you must listen to her. Are you going to listen to me in the future? Zishan shouted out. Yi Hong nodded her head. Speak. Listen, louder. Listen. The people who were hiding at the back were about to roll over from laughter, and Lai Gu and LV Liang even took out their phones to record the scene. Yi Hua revealed out a trace of a smile. This can also be counted as adjusting the atmosphere in the team. Seeing that everyone is so happy, it seems like Yi Hong's divorce wasn't made for nothing. Do you still dare to be fierce towards me in the future? Zi Shan's tone slowly became less cold, and there was even a trace of sobbing in her voice. Thinking back to the Yi Hong from that day, Zi Shan felt sad. This version of Yi Hong is still the best. He is so obedient, just like a little puppy. I don't dare. Yi Hong said sincerely. Do you still dare to scold me in the future? Zi Shan's sobbing became louder and louder. She was extremely sad. Yi Hong saw that his wife was crying and shouted out anxiously, "Wife, don't cry. Don't come over, answer me." Tears flowed out from Zi Shan's eyes as she sobbed. I don't dare to do it anymore. In the future, I will do whatever you say. I promise to listen to you. Woo! Zi Shan immediately squatted on the ground and started crying loudly. Seeing this, Yi Hong felt extremely distressed and hurriedly went forward and hugged onto his wife. Meanwhile, Zi Shan hugged onto her husband and used a set of "return me Bobo punch" with all her might. Those muffled sounds that rang out made one tremble with fear. Chapter 5:11. If I hide, who are you going to hit? Yi Hong tightly hugged onto his wife. This time, he didn't separate from his wife anymore. Looking at her husband's sincere gaze, Zi Shan shouted out with a crying tone, "Kiss me." Everyone cheered for Zi Shan's domineering manner, and even Yi Hua felt that Zi Shan was truly a heroine among women. However, when everyone stretched their heads out to look, the scene seemed to have changed a bit. Death Mage also stretched his head out, and he was immediately pulled back by Sun Fong. Death Mage gave Death Mage a deep gaze, seemingly saying, "You dare to look at me? Do you still want to live in this world? Wife, this isn't good, right?" Yi Hong was a bit embarrassed. After all, this is his honor's bar. Didn't you say that you will listen to me just now? Zi Shan shouted out. Yi Hong felt that his brain wasn't enough to process what was going on. Hurry up and kiss me, be more domineering. Lai Gu took in a breath of cold air. This Zi Shan is valiant, I admire her. That's right. Wei Chang muttered. If only Tang Bingyao was this domineering. LV Liang shouted out, little brother, hurry up and kiss her. Zhu Tian stood at the side and pondered. Yi Hua was currently looking at the development of the situation. If a fight were to break out later on, I would be able to stop them. What else could Yi Hong do? He could only harden his heart and fiercely kiss his wife. F***K, this is too explosive. Blood Demon's eyeballs were about to pop out. Not only Blood Demon, everyone was entranced by the scene. The two phones even recorded this explosive scene. In the future, it will become a romantic story in the team. Suddenly, everyone was astonished by Zi Shan's action. Zi Shan could be seen pulling on Yi Hong's clothes. Yi Hong cried out in surprise, "Wife, what are you doing? I can't take it anymore. I have already been an old virgin for thousands of years. Today, I want you to break it for me." Yi Hong's face immediately turned red. Everyone who was hiding at the back became even more excited. This is too exciting, we are actually doing it at a place like this. Zi Shan was too crazy, and Yi Hong held on to Zi Shan who was in a crazy state. Wife, this place is really not suitable, how about we go home? Alright, go home. After finished speaking, the two disappeared from the bar. Seems like Yi Hong is finally going to end his long-distance running and squeeze into the line of men. The people hiding at the back were disappointed. I've already taken off my pants, and this is what you're showing me? Lai Gu shook his head. Your Honor, this Yi Hong must be punished. I am currently watching with great interest. Blood Demon couldn't help but nod. It turned out that there was such an exciting thing. It seemed more interesting than harming the common people. Yi Hua took a glare at Lai Gu. What is there to look at? I also want to look at my little brother's bedroom. I, the Supreme Overlord, have never done this kind of thing before. Alright, let's disperse. After finished speaking, Yi Hua left first. It is still more comfortable to hug my wife to sleep. What is there to watch in this kind of thing? I, the Supreme Overlord, will definitely not watch this kind of thing next time. How interesting. Everyone left one after another. Blood Demon continued to mop the floor. He had just cleaned it up, but now he was stepping on it again. I, Blood Demon, am a clean freak. LV Liang took a deep breath. Her little brother had succeeded tonight, but what about her own matters? The blood race sisters were still waiting for her to draw their blood. Furthermore, to draw 2 blood sisters at once, I feel a little excited in my heart. Very soon, only the sound of Blood Demon mop the floor could be heard in Leisure Bar. It must be said that Blood Demon's adaptability was rather fast. His cultivation disappeared just like that, yet he is still able to mop the floor so seriously. Seems like this Blood Demon's heart is indeed very twisted, and one cannot look at him with the eyes of an ordinary person. At this moment, at a certain hotel in a small county near Long N City, Feng Tian was sitting on a chair under the window, and the injured Feng Di was lying on the bed. The eyes under Feng Tian's mask could be seen to be very strange. Right now, the eyes were half red and half gold, causing people to feel a chill in their hearts. Dong, dong, dong. The sound of knocking rang out from the door. Feng Tian stood up and opened the door without thinking much. A refined man who was wearing a pair of glasses could be seen standing outside the door. Just that, the man gave off a feeling that he was a little otaku. The suit that he was wearing was a little loose, and his hair was also not tidied up properly, the kind that gave off a feeling of being both otaku and decadent. However, the moment the man walked into the room, his entire temperament instantly changed. His originally turbid gaze became deep, giving off a kind of awe-inspiring feeling. Is the blood clot that I gave you useful? The man sat on a chair at the side, took out a piece of tissue, and wiped his hands. It seemed that he liked to be clean. Feng Tian sat beside the man and said indifferently, Qingdan, what do you want? Qing Tian folded the tissue in his hand and placed it on the glass table beside him. Then he said indifferently, Feng Tian, this world isn't as simple as you think, there are too many unknown factors. Qing Tian, you can hide in the city, but I can't. Now that I have obtained the blood chi of the blood demon, just wait for me to forge the ancient godly item. In this world, who wouldn't be convinced? Feng Tian's eyes flashed with madness and determination. Qing Tian's face was expressionless. He took off his glasses and asked, what about the 5 women? Feng Tian frowned, you were at the scene. Yes, I originally wanted to help you, but it seems that there is no need for that. You are making a choice, right? Feng Tian laughed coldly. How realistic. If he died today, he would most likely go to the blood demon's side. Yes, but I still think highly of you, Qing Tian said indifferently, his finger lightly sliding on his glasses. Feng Tian laughed coldly, thank you so much. Back to the topic, what about the 5 women? Do you know where they went? Qing Tian asked. Who knows, I think they were squashed to death. Are you sure they were squashed to death? Instead of being like me? Qing Tian chuckled sarcastically. Feng Tian's face darkened, he stared at Qing Tian, what are you trying to say? Don't you think that the pure blood came too easily? Do you really think that the 5 women were squashed to death? Do you really think that no one is behind all of this? Qing Tian's questions made Feng Tian calm down. There was indeed something fishy, the pure blood came too suddenly, it was as if it was prepared by someone. And if the 5 women weren't ordinary people, even he wouldn't be able to see through them. Actually, what I want to say is that there are too many strong enemies in this world, you can't defeat them easily. We can only work together, recruit more strong people, and build a perfect world together. Feng Tian chuckled. Qingdan, do you think I can believe you just because of what you said? If you don't believe me, you will suffer a great loss. In fact, you have already taken a trip to the gates of hell tonight. Hee, do you think that I, Feng Tian, am easily frightened? Feng Tian, I have already conveyed my goodwill to you, give me a call when you have thought it through, one person can't do anything big. Qing Tian left after speaking. Chapter 5:12. Brett saw everything that happened. Originally, I was just staring at him, but I didn't expect that I would end up with such a thing. Who is this man? From the looks of it, he is actually stronger than that man. Interesting. Ching Tian, who was walking on the street, suddenly stopped his footsteps. A Rolls-Royce slowly stopped beside Ching Tian, and a white figure opened the door of the car and said with a smile, "Mr. Ching, can we have a chat?" Ching Tian looked at the extraordinary woman in front of him and revealed a faint smile. "Of course, Madame Bai Zixin." "Then, Mr. Ching, please get on the car." Ching Tian got on the car, and the Rolls-Royce drove towards Long and City. This part was neglected by Brett. As for why Bai Zixin came to look for Ching Tian, it was because she had no other choice. Although she didn't get the door shut in her face, it was also impossible for her to get any help from him. Thus, Bai Zixin tried every possible way to find Ching Tian. Ching Tian seemed to be recruiting experts from all over the world, and today was the first time she met him. If he really had the ability, she could still rely on him. On this night, some people lost and some people gained. This kind of situation happened every day, and it would never stop. The morning sun shone on the ground once again, dispersing the darkness. Yi Hong opened his eyes and lowered his head to look at his wife, who was in his embrace. Thinking back to last night's craziness, Yi Hong felt a bit embarrassed and even blushed. I finally became a man, and not a boy anymore. The burden on my shoulders became heavier again, and I still have to raise a child in the future. However, seeing Zishan's happy smile, I feel that everything I do is worth it. In the future, I don't want to see Zishan sad and in pain anymore. It doesn't matter even if I have to suffer a bit. Those negative emotions should be thrown out of the house, and I definitely can't vent my anger on my wife. Husband, Zishan, who was in his embrace, lazily shouted out. This kind of tone that was so sweet that it could make any man hard. Yi Hong was no exception. His wife was simply too charming. "What's the matter, wife?" Yi Hong asked concernedly. Zishan laid on her husband's chest and muttered, "Do you think that I will get pregnant?" This should be possible. How would Yi Hong know about all these? In the past, I still thought that men and women can have children by kissing, and when I was even younger, I even thought that men and women can have children by holding hands. Zishan was very happy. I've finally pushed Yi Hong down, and I'm even able to get pregnant with a child. Looks like Yi Hong's divorce this time was also a fruitful one. "Husband, I love you." Zishan opened her beautiful eyes and kissed her husband. Yi Hong felt that after this incident, Zishan was no longer as strong-willed as before and had become a lot gentler. "Wife, I love you too." Yi Hong kissed Zishan's forehead, and Zishan had a look of enjoyment on her face. There is nothing more comfortable than lying in the embrace of the man that she loves. After a while, Zishan asked, "Hubby, what do you want to eat for breakfast?" "I love you no matter what you do." Yi Hong smiled. Their relationship was even better now. "Then I'll cook some noodles for you." "Okay, I like your sauce." Yes, no problem." After washing up, they went downstairs. Yi Hong saw that her brother was watching TV early in the morning. It was a little strange. Zishan blinked her eyes, indicating for you to go and ask her, while she went to the kitchen. "Big brother, what's wrong?" Yi Hong sat at the side and asked. With a pair of panda eyes, LV Liang looked at his little brother with slanted eyes and said in a low voice, "You still dare to ask me what's wrong? The two of you made such a big commotion. Did you even consider my feelings? I am a man who was hurt by a woman before Speaking up to here, LV Liang couldn't continue speaking. "I'm so envious of my little brother, to be able to have a wife who loves him so much, and yet, I was cuckolded by another woman from head to toe. Just thinking about it makes my heart sour." "Big brother, that is all in the past. You should have already forgotten about it. It shouldn't happen again in the future." Yi Hong comforted his little brother attentively. So Big Brother still hasn't walked out of this pit. Thinking about it, which man would be able to act as if nothing had happened? Unless he was cuckolded again. LV Liang looked at his little brother, and his expression collapsed. "It shouldn't happen again. Could it be that it will happen again in your heart?" "Big brother, that's not what I meant." That's what you meant, right now, you want to see Big Brother become a joke. Big Brother, that's really not what I meant. Yi Hong felt that in just one night, Big Brother had changed, so strange. LV Liang had a very painful expression on his face as he muttered, "You can have no money, no car, no house, you can also have no dreams, and even have nothing because they are all women. As long as they marry a rich man, they would have everything, but what about me? I have to face huge pressure every single day, I have to succeed. If I am unable to succeed, I will be heartlessly cuckolded by those women." At the start, Yi Hong thought that her big brother was talking about her. I indeed have no money, no car, no house, and no dreams, but when she was about to finish speaking, she found out that her big brother was actually talking about her, so close. Big brother, what you said is right, then what? LV Liang looked at his little brother seriously and muttered, I want to become a woman. Yi Hong, big brother. You calm down, you can't become addicted just because you became a woman for a few days. Wife, come quickly. Big brother wants to become a woman again. Yi Hong pulled onto his crazy big brother and shouted out loudly. Zi Shan hurriedly ran over and looked at her big brother. Actually, being a woman is pretty good, I think you are. LV Liang, Yi Hong, I don't want to live anymore, all of you are bullying me. LV Liang pushed away his little brother and ran into the bedroom with strange footsteps. Why does Yi Hong feel that big brother's footsteps are so feminine? Seeing that her big brother had become like this, Zi Shan stared at Yi Hong and said, Husband, don't learn from your big brother, if not I. Zi Shan took out a spatula and stabbed it into the bedroom. Yi Hong immediately understood and nodded his head. Husband is so obedient, let me give you a kiss, moi. Yi Hong touched onto his face. Why do I feel that I am a little puppy that is being fed? Who cares, if I am a little puppy then so be it. However, I have to take care of big brother's matters right now. After becoming a woman for a few days, I am unable to come back. Seems like what happened last night must have stimulated big brother. I am so blissful, but big brother is so miserable. It seems like I have to help big brother. Furthermore, the only ones who can save big brother are the blood sisters. Let them awaken big brother's identity as a man. Zi Shan carried a bowl of piping hot noodles out of the bedroom. Husband, eat the noodles. Yi Hong walked to the side of the dining table and said gravely, Wife, I am preparing to go down and have a talk with the blood sisters. Big brother cannot continue like this. Then, is there anything that I can help you with? Zi Shan asked with concern. Wife, there is no need, I can take care of it myself. Chapter 5:13. After the meal, Yi Hong decided to use practical actions to repay her big brother's many years of kindness. Arriving outside of 7 Bar, Yi Hong took a deep breath and walked in. Not long after entering, she bumped into a foreigner. Yi Hong said that she came to look for the lady boss, that something happened to her big brother. As expected, when the vampire sisters heard that something happened to LV Liang, they hurriedly ran out. When they saw Yi Hong's stuttering look, Selena and Selena immediately hugged each other and cried bitterly. LV Liang, why did you die? We sisters are still waiting for you to come back. How can you bear to die alone? Yi Hong looked at the reaction of the sisters and was very confused. Did I express anything just now? They actually thought that big brother died. This is too scary, isn't it? Isn't that so? The two sisters were extremely worried these past 2 days. They were afraid that LV Liang died, and they were even more afraid that someone would come to look for them, and then have a look of not daring to say it, as if they were afraid that they would be sad. Don't say why, this is how it is played on TV, and it works every time. Who would have thought that LV Liang's little brother would come with such a heavy expression? The two sisters already knew that the worst thing had happened, and no one would come to draw blood for them anymore. Don't cry, my big brother, Before Yi Hong finished speaking, Selena asked, Is your big brother's corpse still intact? My big brother, Selena choked with sobs and said, Even if his corpse isn't intact, it doesn't matter, we will make him into a specimen. Yi Hong, my big brother didn't die. Yi Hong said this sentence in one breath. These two sisters are too easy to fill in the blanks, no wonder big brother is so afraid of them. The vampire sisters were startled, and immediately cried tears of joy. That is not far from death. Yi Hong added another sentence. The joy on the vampire sisters' faces froze, and they immediately cried again. Seems like this Yi Hong must not go out to do things by herself. If she were to meet someone who didn't have good comprehension ability, she would definitely be messed up like the vampire sisters. Don't cry, what I mean is, my big brother didn't die, he is still alive, just that his life is worse than death. This time, Yi Hong finally said everything she wanted to say. The Blood Tribe sisters also understood that they had suffered some kind of setback. They wiped their tears and sat down. Yi Hong also sat opposite them. Looking at the faces of the Blood Clan sisters, Yi Hong was still very happy for her big brother. Although he had been cuckolded in the past, how could he see the rainbow without experiencing the wind and rain? What's wrong with your big brother? Serena asked. Yeah, why do I feel like your big brother had a painful experience? Selena asked. Yi Hong sighed deeply. There's something you don't know. The two sisters didn't say anything. They looked at Yi Hong, wanting to hear about LV Shu's past. Do you know? I've been hanging out with my big brother since I was young, and we often mixed mud together. My big brother was in charge of fetching water, and I was in charge of mixing the mud. It's just that the smell of the water was a little strong, but we had a lot of fun, and my big brother took good care of me. As we grew older, we played house. My big brother was like a father, and he asked me to call him Daddy. At that time, I felt warmth, and my big brother was like a father, accompanying me and taking care of me. In order to repay my big brother's kindness, I purposely didn't get into college and chose to stay by my big brother's side so that he wouldn't be lonely. At that time, my big brother taught me how to make an afro and said that it was cool. Although I knew it was silly, I still listened to my big brother. We practiced dancing and swept the dust together on the mountain, and we almost swept the mountain flat. Those were such happy days. But that's not the point. The point is that my big brother's first relationship was with a girl who sold sesame seed cakes. My big brother would buy a few sesame seed cakes every morning, whether it was raining or thundering. My big brother felt that the girl was also interested in him, because when he was buying the sesame seed cakes, the girl didn't dare to look at my big brother. My big brother also knew that girls were shy, and it was normal that they didn't dare to look at her, so he didn't take it to heart. But until one day, my big brother saw the girl get into a Wuling Hongguang car. The girl that my big brother liked ended up with someone else, and the girl even said that she was cuckolded. On the next day, my big brother dyed himself cuckolded and went to interrogate that girl. In the end, my big brother and I were locked up for 10 days. My big brother was heartbroken. He was actually cheated by the girl and the man that he liked. From that time on, my big brother didn't like women anymore. Hearing till here, Serena cried out in surprise, "Could it be that your big brother likes men? Are the two of you true love?" Serena felt that in this story, the big brother and the little brother were the true love. Yi Hong, two ladies, I am a man with a wife. Don't misunderstand, my big brother and I are brothers. We are not gay friends. Yi Hong hurriedly explained. This isn't a joke, if Zi Shan misunderstood. Hearing Yi Hong's affirmation, the two sisters felt at ease. Yi Hong continued, Big brother was completely disheartened. I didn't see him talk about girls anymore, and not long after, we even bought a Wuling Hongguang S. I know what big brother meant. Compared to the Wuling Hongguang car that picked up the girl back then, the Wuling Hongguang car had an extras, seemingly wanting that girl to regret her actions. But not long after, we saw that girl sitting on a Honda Civic, and the girl was very happy. Big brother. Sigh. After listening to what LV Shu said, the two sisters finally understood. LV Shu was hurt by love, and that's why he wasn't willing to accept the two of them. My big brother was afraid. Did you guys know? That kind of feeling of being cuckolded makes one wish that they were dead, and thus, he didn't dare to accept the two of you. These few days, when we went to complete the mission disguised as a woman, Big Brother got a bit into the role, and even said those kinds of words about becoming a woman. I really don't have any other choice. Only the two of you are able to awaken the hormones in Big Brother's heart. LV Shu wanted to become a woman. Serena cried out in surprise. immediately feeling that the situation wasn't good. If LV Shu became a woman, what would happen to me and my big sister? We would have to live the rest of our lives alone. As the big sister, Serena immediately stood up and said, "Where is your big brother right now?" "He's at home," Yi Hong said hurriedly. "It would be great if I can help big brother return back to his original appearance." This kind of emotional trauma still needs to be treated by a woman. As a little brother, I can't help much. Quickly bring us there. All right. Without further ado, the three immediately rushed back to the villa. After Yi Hong told the two sisters the location of Big Brother's room, the two sisters immediately rushed over, fearing that LV Shu would castrate himself. "You called him over so quickly?" Zishan walked over and asked. "That's right, Big Brother's emotions are so unstable right now, I'm afraid that he would go and find Uncle Wei and become a woman again." "What, is it not good to be a woman?" Zishan glared at Zishan. Yi Hong smiled apologetically. "My wife is the best." Chapter 5:14. On the other side, the vampire sisters rushed into LV Liang's room and instantly locked the door. It seemed like they were going to do something shameful. Then, they looked dumbfoundedly at LV Liang, who was playing with the stockings. LV Liang looked at the vampire sisters, who suddenly came in with a dumbfounded expression. "So awkward, it's not like what you guys think. I don't have a thing for stockings. I only wore this stocking yesterday, and I was just about to throw it away." LV Liang. LV Liang. Along with the vampire sisters' cries of surprise, LV Liang's body paused. Perhaps it was because he got used to dressing up as a woman. He revealed a weak look. "LV Liang, where did your manliness go? LV Liang, how did you become like this? Even if you have any bad memories in the past, those are all in the past. Now that you have us, we won't make you a cuckold." LV Liang took in a deep breath and said faintly, "Seems like you guys already know about it. There's no need to say any more. It must be that little brother of mine who told you, right?" "That's right. I, LV Liang, have been cuckolded by a woman before, and the reason why I don't accept you guys is because I'm afraid. I'm very cowardly, and I often find superiority in front of my little brother. In actuality, I'm even more cowardly than my little brother. I don't deserve to be a man." When the two sisters heard what LV Liang said, their hearts sunk. LV Liang doesn't want to be a man anymore. How can this be? We have to let LV Liang know how it feels to be a man. The two sisters could be seen directly pressing LV Liang onto the bed, forming a posture of eating a spicy sandwich. "What are you two doing? Quickly let go of me, otherwise I'm going to scream." LV Liang struggled with all his might, but the two sisters were simply too strong, and he was actually unable to struggle free. "Seems like I can only be slaughtered by them," Serena said faintly. "LV Liang, don't be a woman, it's more satisfying to be a man." "That's right, LV Liang, big sister is right, it's more interesting to be a man," Serena added. "How do you two know that it's better to be a man? I don't believe you two." LV Liang turned his face away, with a look of, "I won't believe you two no matter what, unless I prove it." Serena lowered her head and said, "My little sister and I will let you know that it's actually more satisfying to be a man." As they spoke, the two sisters' hands wandered all over LV Liang's body, but LV Liang remained unmoved. "No matter what you do, I will not yield. I, LV Liang, have a will of steel. How could I be tempted by such things?" "LV Liang, LV companion, are you happy?" Selena asked with a smile. LV Liang answered honestly, "I'm happy." Serena smiled. "Do you still want to be a woman?" "I don't want to." Damn it, with such a pair of beautiful sisters, what was the point of being a woman? Only a sick person would want to be a woman. LV Shu, you will rejoice in your choice. However, being the big brother would definitely feel better than being the little brother. These two beautiful sisters really knew how to have fun, allowing LV Liang to enjoy the comfort of an emperor. As expected of the blood race, they were very good at absorbing everything. Yi Hong and Zishan, who were sitting outside the living room, covered their ears with their hands. This commotion is too big. Like a pig being slaughtered. It wasn't the girl who was screaming, it was the big brother who was screaming. What was happening in the room that made the big brother scream like that? Zishan could be seen pulling Yi Hong up the stairs. Honey, what are you doing? Let's call it that too. Ah. Yi Hong was dumbfounded. How could this be compared? The green and red brothers finally had a perfect ending. Ever since they brought Dong Huangli out, their lives had undergone an earth-shattering change, and they became the subordinates of the Supreme Overlord. In an instant, they turned from an ordinary person into an unparalleled expert. Such a change didn't cause the two brothers to become arrogant and go to bully others. They were still living their lives the same as before. It wasn't easy for little brother Yi Hong and Zishan to reach where they were today. Little brother Yi Hong and Zishan, if you die, then I die. But now, everything is fine. Big brother Green has also successfully found a new love and is enjoying his boundless luck with women. These two brothers are truly winners in life. Voidless Realm's morning was filled with celestial mist. Even the place where deities lived wouldn't have such an environment. On the bed, Yihua was still sleeping while hugging onto Qinya, and on the corner of Qinya's mouth, there was saliva. Yihua looked at the water stain on his chest and felt very depressed. Why is Qinya's old problem acting up again? She is already so old, yet she is still drooling like a child. Look, she is still drooling right now. Qinya, wake up. Yihua called out to his wife faintly. Sniff, 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 don't. Qinya hugged onto her husband and began acting coquettishly. Girls, no matter how old they were, they would always like to act coquettishly in front of their husband. The purpose was to let their husband love and coax them. What do you mean don't want? Look at yourself, you are drooling again. If Qinya wasn't drooling, Yihua would still be able to coax her, but right now, he didn't have the mood to coax her anymore. Qinya opened her beautiful eyes and looked at the water stain on Yihua's chest. Her face turned red. Why am I drooling again? So embarrassing. You are going to be a mother soon. Are you going to drool together with your child? Yihua asked faintly. Qinya snorted. You keep scolding me, didn't I just drool a bit? It's not like I did it on purpose. Looking at Qinya's wronged look, Yihua couldn't bear to scold her anymore. All right, don't drool anymore in the future. If you have the ability, then don't hug onto me while I sleep. Qinya turned around and ignored Yihua. This Qinya is going against my will today. Her wings have grown hard. Yihua domineeringly hugged onto Qinya and asked faintly, what did you say just now? You heard it. Qinya didn't fear the man in the slightest. Your guts have grown. Of course, I am his honor's woman. No one can afford to offend me, not even you. Hearing Qinya's hooting, Yihua laughed out. That's right, no one can afford to offend my woman, not even me. Stop flattering me, get up. Yihua smiled faintly. Qinya stood up. Who is flattering you, narcissist? Go and fetch water for me to wash my face. Yihua was like a big boss who was ordering his wife to do something. Qinya rolled her eyes at her husband, then personally went out of the house to fetch water for her husband to wash his face. Although she can leave these things to the servants to do, Qinya feels that fetching water for her husband to wash his face is also a kind of happiness. Carrying the wash basin and walking into the house, Qinya finished arranging everything for Yihua. While washing his face, Yihua asked calmly, how did your discussion with Baiji go? It's more or less done. After I settle the details, I will announce the news. Qinya said. And you two have to be careful. Looking at Yihua's expression, Yihua seemed to have realized something. Qinya asked curiously, what's wrong? Yesterday night, my subordinates had already captured the blood demon. You captured the blood demon so quickly? Qinya exclaimed in admiration. Where is he? Yihua said faintly, he is mopping the floor at the bar. Chapter 5:15. After washing his face, Yihua placed the towel into the basin and said indifferently, that's right, I am also very disappointed. Yihua, were you the one who let them out? Qinya dared to bet that this matter was definitely pushed by her husband from behind. Yihua nodded his head and didn't deny it. I just wanted to take a look at the so-called blood demon, and in the end, this is what it looks like. What about the group of people that destroyed Guan family? Qinya asked. Most of them were killed by the blood demons. Only the 2 bosses escaped. Qinya snorted. Yi Hua, you are doing this on purpose, right? Aren't you curious about what else they're planning? You're just too shallow. I'm casting a long line to catch a big fish, understand? Yi Hua shook his head. No matter how good-looking a woman is, it's just that her hair is long and her knowledge is short. Qinya won't be able to escape from such a fate. The Empress is still a bit better off, but sometimes she will also be the same. This is a common failing of all women. Qinya pouted her small mouth, touched her big belly, and said, Child, your daddy has scolded mommy twice in the morning. Alright, he couldn't beat that, so he started snitching to his son. Ouch! Qinya suddenly wrinkled her brows and shouted out. Holding onto her stomach with both of her hands, she seemed to be very sad. Yi Hua's expression tensed up, and he hurriedly supported his wife to sit at the side. What's wrong? This little fellow is moving. Qinya seemed to be exceptionally excited, and the smile that she revealed out became very interesting. Yi Hua let out a breath of relief. I thought that something bad had happened. When Donghuang Baiji was giving birth to Donghuang Baiji, Yi Hua wasn't by her side. Thus, Qinya had to properly accompany Donghuang Baiji. Right now, Yi Hua was also learning from the men on TV. He slowly moved closer to Qinya's belly and felt his son's restlessness. Looking at Yi Hua's human-like actions, Qinya's smile became even more gentle and beautiful. Husband and son, such a perfect life. Did you hear anything? Qinya asked curiously. Yi Hua let out a sigh, as if he was being played by his son. Nothing at all. You must have scared our son to the point that he doesn't dare to move anymore. Qinya rolled her eyes at her husband. Yi Hua pursed his lips and did not say anything. In a few more months, my son will be born and my son will be born. Papa, good morning. Mama, good morning. Donghuang Li and Donghuang Baiji appeared at the doorway of the house. Donghuang Baiji also appeared at the doorway of the house. The Empress didn't even dare to look straight at her husband's gaze. I reckon that Yi Hua must be very angry at me for running away yesterday. Papa, I'll leave Mama to you. I'm going to play with my brother. After finished speaking, little Ali began to ask Qinya about whether her little brother had moved today, when is little brother going to be born, what does little brother like to eat, and so on and so forth. Yi Hua said in a low voice, Why did you run away last night? Alright, don't be angry. I was wrong, sir. The Empress was trying to please her husband in every possible way. This kind of Empress couldn't be seen by others. Otherwise, she would lose her prestige. Since his wife admitted that she was in the wrong, Yi Hua stopped lecturing her. That's right, Yi Hong and Zi Shan's relationship issues have already been resolved. They have reconciled, there is no need to worry about them. Yi Hua sat on the wooden chair, and Donghuang Baiji sat on the side and started making tea for her husband, who lowered their head and admitted their mistake. Qinya asked curiously. Donghuang Baiji laughed, then said tenderly, It's definitely Yi Hong. Zi Shan is so powerful, how could she be mistaken? Then, Baiji, between Brett and Zhu Tian, who do you think would be mistaken? Qinya continued to ask. As for Donghuang Baiji, it was hard to say. Zhu Tian was not Yi Hong, he had his own pride, so how could he possibly admit his mistake? And Brett was even more unlikely to admit his mistake. Do you two have any good methods to resolve their relationship issues? Yi Hua was extremely worried about this matter. Team harmony is the most important thing. Qinya and Donghuang Baiji shook their heads. This relationship issue is too hard to resolve, and it isn't something that can be resolved with just a single sentence. Furthermore, Brett was already injured to the point that he wanted to commit suicide. From this, it could be seen how resolute he was. This time, Zhu Tian can be said to have lost a good wife. It is too late for regrets now. Seeing that even his wife was unable to resolve this matter, Yi Hua let out a breath. Seems like I have to go and have a good talk with Zhu Tian and see what exactly Zhu Tian is thinking. When is the announcement for the martial arts competition that you all arranged? Dong Huang Baiji poured a cup of hot tea for Yi Hua. It should be around tomorrow. The date of the martial arts competition is set at the end of December. Consider it as a year-end bonus. Where do you plan to hold the martial arts competition? Dong Huang Baiji said, we plan to hold the martial arts competition at Ji family. After all, this kind of matter cannot be known by the outside world. It is good to hold the martial arts competition at Ji family. It is a pretty good place. However, you have to be careful to prevent people from causing trouble. Yi Hua warned. Don't we have you, hubby? Qinya and Dong Huang Baiji shouted out. That's right, Ali has daddy. Yi Hua laughed lightly, then carried his daughter. Seems like my mission is very important. I have to properly protect Ali. Hee, Ali doesn't need daddy to protect her. Daddy can just protect mommy. Yi Hua pinched onto his daughter's little nose. Alright, you two go and do your own things. I will go and have a talk with Zhu Tian. Yi Hua, have a proper talk. Don't lose your temper. That's right, don't teach people a lesson at the drop of a hat. Daddy, you have to be calm. The corner of Yi Hua's mouth twitched. Seems like in your hearts, I am someone who gets angry easily. Not only was he the violent type, he was simply a tyrant. He would scold his subordinates for no reason at all, and he would even scold his wife. Such a man, only Qinya and Dong Huang Baiji would be able to endure it. Yi Hua notified Zhu Tian and told him that he would be coming over with his main body. After Zhu Tian received the message, he immediately made preparations to welcome his honor's arrival. Furthermore, he even brought Dong Fang Yuan and Guan Yanxin out to greet his honor. Yi Hua looked at Zhu Tian's two maids, and he felt that they were rather pitiful. One's entire family was killed, and the other was captured by Brett. All of you, get up. Yi Hua said faintly. Thank you, Your Honor. Zhu Tian shouted out gravely. Dong Fang Yuan and Guan Yanxin also shouted out respectfully. Thank you, Your Honor. Yi Hua indicated to Zhu Tian to call them away. After Dong Fang Yuan and Guan Yanxin left, Yi Hua said, this Dong Fang Yuan's complexion seems to be pretty good. Your Honor, you had only adjusted herself recently. Zhu Tian said respectfully. Yi Hua nodded his head. It's good that you have thought it through. Zhu Tian lowered his head and remained silent. The reason why I came over this time is to ask you, what exactly do you think of Brett? If there is still a trace of affection between you and Brett, then you should pursue Brett. If there isn't any affection between you and Brett, then just treat it as if I didn't say anything. After finished speaking, Yi Hua looked at Zhu Tian's expression. I don't believe that Zhu Tian's 800 years of affection will be broken just like that. After a long while, Zhu Tian lowered his head and said, Your Honor, I also don't know what to do. Chapter 5:16. If it were before, absolute heaven would have boldly answered that he did not like it. However, when he saw Brett's broken wing, his heart ached. It was as if someone was clutching at it. But I have already rejected him for more than 800 years, and right now, I am saying that I like him. Isn't this a huge slap to my face, especially in front of his honor? Alright, I know that you like Brett. Yi Hua said gravely. Do you still not know about Zhu Tian's personality? They all wanted to save face. Absolute heaven stared blankly at Shi Feng for a moment before lowering his head. However, he did not quibble, which could be considered as tacit agreement. Zhu Tian, women are all soft-hearted. I believe that you should be able to see through Yi Hong's matter. Brett and Zishan are a bit similar, both of them are strong women. For Yi Hong to be willing to lower his head and yield to Zishan isn't ugly at all. This is the magnanimity of a man. Even I, the Supreme Overlord, would yield to them sometimes. That's why, if you act like a coward, the world will be boundless. This sovereign has experience. In actuality, in front of Qinya and Dong Huang Baiji, he had also been a little timid, that's all. He definitely wouldn't be a little timid anymore. Your Honor, I'm afraid that even if I admit defeat this time around, Brett will not forgive me, and he will also not accept you and the others. Zhu Tian was very greedy, he wanted everything. Yi Hua stood up and slowly walked out of the garden. Zhu Tian followed behind Yi Hua respectfully. Zhu Tian, We have already been together for close to 1,000 years, right? Yi Hua stretched out his hand and lightly stroked the flower petal. Time is truly merciless. However, that is only for ugly people. Absolute Heaven paused for a moment, before saying respectfully, it has already been over 1,100 years. If my guess is correct, Brett was saved by you, right? Yi Hua said faintly. Back then, Absolute Heaven had carried the injured Brett back to the Supreme Overlord's side, and Absolute Heaven had said that he had picked up the injured Brett on the road. Back then, Absolute Heaven had actually believed Absolute Heaven's words. It could be seen that Absolute Heaven's IQ was simply not online. Thinking about it now, Absolute Heaven's IQ was indeed not right. A trace of astonishment flashed past Zhu Tian's eyes. It has already been so many years, and his honor actually still remembers it. Zhu Tian hurriedly knelt down and said, Subordinate doesn't dare to lie to his honor. That day, Subordinate was the one who saved Brett, therefore, that is why Brett is dead set on you, and this time, Brett wants to return his life to you, right? Yi Hua plucked off the flower petal, then lightly stroked it with his thumb and index finger. Absolute Heaven lowered his head in silence. Forget it. I've already said this much. It's up to you whether you want to do it or not. It's fine as long as you don't regret it. Your Honor, thank you for worrying. Yi Hua flicked away the flower petals in his hand and lit up a cigarette. Let's talk about proper business. Guan family is already gone. How is the investigation of the other 4 families going? Your Honor, because of the problem with the longevity fruit being exposed this time, coupled with the change in the distribution of the longevity fruit, the other 4 families have all quietened down. Perhaps, they are all waiting for Voidless Realm's result. Then I, the Supreme Overlord, will tell you the result. They have decided to use a martial arts competition to distribute the longevity fruits, unlike the previous years where both the North and the South can participate in the martial arts competition. Yi Hua said. Zhu Tian's brows wrinkled. Your Honor, if even the South wants to participate in this matter, I don't think that the North will agree to it. After all, this matter belongs to the North. This is not a problem at all. My original plan was to have them fight against each other, and right now, I have a reasonable explanation for it. Yi Hua laughed lightly. I didn't expect that after going around in circles, I would once again return back to my original plan. Zhu Tian said gravely, if that is the case, the North's aristocratic families will definitely not agree to it. In the past, even if they don't do anything, they would still be able to obtain the longevity fruit. But now, they have to participate in the martial arts competition to obtain the longevity fruit. Zhu Tian, cornered dogs will jump over a wall. If we are unable to find any clues, we can just lead them to jump over a wall. Zhu Tian was puzzled for a moment, and then his eyes immediately shone. His Honor is making a big fuss again. Your Honor is wise, to be able to see through subordinates' troubles with just a single sentence. Just by listening to what Zhu Tian said, I feel very comfortable. Walking in this courtyard that is filled with flowers and plants sure has a different flavor to it. Your Honor, these flowers and plants were planted by Guan Yanxin. Zhu Tian, who was following behind Zhu Tian, said in a low voice. They were planted pretty well. Qinya and Baiji wouldn't do such things. Yi Hua let out a breath. They are both women who are discussing about important matters, hee. Zhu Tian laughed lightly. Your 2 wives naturally wouldn't do such things. Actually, planting flowers and plants is pretty good as well. They can nurture their mental state, just that they are too impetuous. Yi Hua picked up a potted flower and inspected it. After all, your 2 wives are humans, and they need to go through a process of getting used to it. I believe that they will slowly reach your Honor's requirements in the future. Yi Hua placed the potted flower down, then continued walking forward. They are still far from my requirements. Zhu Tian laughed lightly, not saying anything. Oh right, you will be responsible for the safety of the martial arts competition this time around. Don't eliminate the hidden dangers, just find out what the hidden dangers are and see what they are up to. Yi Hua naturally wouldn't give up on such an interesting plan. There will definitely be people who will cause trouble for the martial arts competition. I hope that I can catch them all in one go. Your honor can be at ease, subordinate will definitely handle it well. Zhu Tian bowed beside Yi Hua and accepted the task. Yi Hua turned around and patted on Zhu Tian's shoulder. Although work is important, you still have to show some concern for Brett. Send her a meal or something like that. Even if you get rejected, don't get discouraged. All girls are like this when they get angry. Your honor, I understand. That's good then. Work hard. Brett is a good woman. If you miss her, you will truly regret it. And subordinate understands. Today's task is more or less like this. I have said everything that needs to be said, but it is still a bit difficult for subordinate to think. Returning back to the office, Yi Hua called Brett over and asked if there was any information. In actuality, the most important thing was to probe Brett. Brett knelt beside Yi Hua's feet and told Yi Hua everything that happened last night. After listening to Brett's words, Yi Hua slightly wrinkled his brows. Keep an eye on that person as well. If there isn't enough manpower, tell me, I will arrange it for you. Your honor, there's no need for that, subordinate will be fine by myself. Brett said faintly. His expression was still the same as before, ice cold. Yi Hua let out a light sigh. All right then. Your honor, if there isn't anything else, subordinate will be leaving first. Wait, what's the rush? Brett asked respectfully. Your honor, do you still have anything else to tell me? If I didn't know you, I would have thought that you are a robot. Brett, I will ask you a few personal questions. Yi Hua said faintly while looking at Brett's expression. If there is any change, I will immediately stop. This Brett is quite pitiful. She can be said to be the most pitiful woman in the entire team. Your honor, please ask. Brett said faintly. Yi Hua lit up a stick of cigarette, then asked, how much do you hate Zhu Tian? Absolutely irreconcilable. F***K, aren't you all being too hasty? It's not like you all killed my father. How did you all turn it into absolutely irreconcilable? You are simply using random words. You are simply messing around. Chapter 517. Brett slowly raised his head and looked at his honor. I won't. What if I order you? Subordinate will definitely not dare to go against his honor, but subordinate will commit suicide behind his honor's back. Brett's tone was filled with desolation. It seemed like his anger hadn't dissipated yet. Yi Hua decided to provoke Brett. I went to ask Zhu Tian just now, he is still willing to marry you. Yi Hua said gravely. Just that he discovered that Brett did not have any reaction at all. Could it be that he is immune to it? This subordinate will not be fooled again. Brett said indifferently, without the slightest fluctuation of emotion. It seemed that Brett had become more vigilant after being deceived by Shifeng and Absolute Heaven the last time. What if it's true? I have never lied to anyone. Even if it is true, this subordinate will not marry a man like Zhu Tian. Yi Hong is 10,000 times better than him. Yi Hong, where are you? There's a fangirl here. Yi Hua blushed with shame. I didn't expect that Brett would compare Yi Hong to Zhu Tian, and Yi Hong completely won against Zhu Tian. Enough. You can go do what you need to do. However, let me tell you, Absolute Heaven is truly regretting his actions. Think about it. Give Absolute Heaven another chance. You can also be considered as giving yourself another chance. Hearing his honor's words, Brett didn't say anything and left with his head lowered. Yi Hua let out a heavy breath. Not only am I the matchmaker, I am also the peacemaker. Since when did I, the supreme overlord, start meddling in other people's business? I haven't eaten chili crayfish in a long time. I miss it a little. Coincidentally, my sister-in-law is at home. If a sister-in-law was not used to peel crayfish, then what was the point of having a sister-in-law? Get to know his sister-in-law's butt? In the blink of an eye, 3 days passed by, and Voidless Realm released the latest news. This news made the Northern Clan upset and the Southern Clan happy. That was to distribute the longevity fruits in the form of a martial arts competition. Both the Northern and Southern clans could participate, but each clan could only send one contestant. Furthermore, only the top 10 clans would have the longevity fruits. In fact, in terms of quantity, there was no difference from before. In fact, there was even a little less. Other than letting people know about the longevity fruit, there was no change. Many clans in the south began to stir. The clans in the north began to raise their flags in protest. This was unfair. To begin with, this matter is only the matter of the north, so why are the southerners able to interfere in this matter? Furthermore, during the past 2 days, the commotion between the southerners and Voidless Realm has been getting more and more violent, to the point where they are just short of putting up a banner in front of Voidless Realm's gate to protest. Of course, this was all instigated by the other 4 aristocratic families. These longevity fruits had originally belonged to them, and now they had to give away even less than before. How infuriating! Now that only the 5 great families were left in the north, they naturally pushed aside the Dongfang family, not giving them any face at all. Furthermore, right now, the 4 family heads were all having a meeting, and the content of the meeting was precisely regarding Voidless Realm's attitude towards this matter. Yi Xiao of the Yi family had yet to find his son. Chu He of the Chu family. Duan Ho of the Duan family was an ugly woman. Jiang Yuanzhou of the Jiang family, his silly son, was not here. We should have gone to Voidless Realm together to protest, isn't this just messing around? Jiang Yuanzhou slammed onto the table and shouted out. Duan Ho gently stroked her veil, and her slender fingers slid across the cup of water. For so many years, we have been at odds with the south. This time, Your Majesty has angered every family in the north. Yi Zhao's face sank as he said indifferently, "What's done cannot be undone. Is there any other way?" Chu He took a deep breath and did not say anything, because his son told him not to be greedy anymore, and to not get involved in the conspiracy of those people. Duan Ho picked up the teacup and lightly blew on it. "Your Majesty has broken your promise to the entire north. I think it's time." Yi Xiao nodded his head, and Jiang Yuanzhou nodded his head as well. This is the rhythm of usurping the throne, using the entire north to force you to step down. This is not a problem that can be solved with force. Chu He? Yi Xiao asked gravely. Right now, Chu He's mind was still recalling his son Chu Bai's words. "Father, don't ever harbor any thoughts towards Voidless Realm. Those people are not people that we can afford to offend even if we were to work together." "Chu family head?" Duan Ho shouted out. Chu He came back to his senses, then looked at the 3 people in front of him and said gravely, "My Chu family does not wish to participate." Chu He's words caused the 3 people in front of him to go into a daze. "Chu He, what do you mean by that? Do you want to go and report us?" Jiang Yuanzhou questioned coldly. "Just now, you didn't say anything, and after listening to the meeting, you said that you don't want to participate." Chu He looked at the 3 people and said gravely, "You all can be at ease. I, Chu He, will definitely not go and secretly report you." "How can we believe your words?" Yi Xiao laughed. "We are all adults, can you not be so childish? I, Chu He, dare to use my life to guarantee it." Duan Ho took off her veil, and the skin that was underneath the veil could be seen to be wrinkled, as if it was burnt by fire. "Chu He, it's already too late for you to get off the boat now. The 4 of us are already on the same boat, we were on the same boat in the past, and we are still on the same boat now. Chu He, you should understand what I mean, right?" Duan Ho's words caused Chu He's expression to become extremely gloomy. Duan Ho was reminding me of what happened back then. If this matter were to be leaked out, everyone would be done for. Jiang Yuanzhou stood up and walked to Chu He's side, then placed his hands on Chu He's shoulders and pressed him down. "Chu He, the 4 of us will either live or die together. How is it possible for you to escape by yourself?" Chu He's face was deathly pale. "These people are right. This boat is already on the same boat. How is it possible for me to get off?" Duan Ho said faintly, "All right, let's discuss on how to force the Empress to abdicate. If we want to force the Empress to abdicate, we must not use force. We are not her opponent at all." Yi Xiao said. Jiang Yuanzhou sat back on his seat. "We cannot use force. We can only use the wishes of the northern families to force the Empress to abdicate." Duan Ho nodded her head. "If the southerners get all the benefits from the martial arts competition this time, the northern families will definitely not let the matter rest. I heard that Shao Yi Tang Wushuang and Bai Zixin hate Voidless Realm to the bone. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. Yi Xiao drank a mouthful of water, and a faint killing intent could be heard from his tone. Duan Ho's eyes flickered with viciousness. This time we must win. Helpless, Chu He stretched out his hand and made a kind of contract. I feel that this time is 10,000 times more dangerous than the last time. If I don't succeed, then I will be dead meat. I should have listened to my son today. I shouldn't have come over. However, even if I don't come over, what can I do? After all, they will not let me off. And among the southern families, back then, when Ding family was exterminated, the other 4 families only brought their people to Ji family's house and left. Thus, they were able to escape from this calamity. Right now, they were discussing about the martial arts competition that was going to happen soon. Other than Ding family, who was completely exterminated. Chapter 5:18. The 4 of them sat together in a circle. Their expressions were not as solemn as before, and they seemed very relaxed. This time, the Empress is showing mercy to us. The 4 of us will be able to get more of Voidless Realm specialties. Marshal Saint leaned on his chair, and both of his legs were even placed on the table. Diao Lang had his eyes closed and was listening to music with his earphones on. However, he said, the South's overall strength has declined. Only our 4 clans and the 5 clans in the north have the strength to snatch it. You are right. Right now, there is a wave of anti-voidless realm craze in the north. Empress, you are going to be very busy. He Tian said faintly while smoking a pipe of tobacco. Murongji laughed lightly. Those aristocratic families in the north might start targeting Voidless Realm and topple Voidless Realm. Bring down Voidless Realm? How is that possible? You all are thinking too much into it. Marshal Sage laughed. Voidless Realm is such a powerful big shot, and you all want to bring down Voidless Realm? It was simply impossible. Diao Lang took off his earphones and placed them on the table. He looked at the 3 of them and said, if it's to unite all the families in the north, that might not be the case. The other 3 nodded their heads. If he really had the ability to unite all the families in the north, that might really be the case. But what does that have to do with us? As long as we get the longevity fruits, everything will be fine. The 4 patriarchs nodded their heads. What did the matters of the north have to do with them? The Empress was really a good person. She even cared about the feelings of the entire South. It would be strange if the northern clans didn't rebel. Was this the same as shooting oneself in the foot? This was also what Yi Hua wanted. Yi Hua wanted to completely crush the pity in his wives' hearts. In this world, there are only benefits involved. Even if you treat the South so well, in the end, aren't you still being cheated? In the Wang family's villa in Gao Hai City, Wang Debao and Bai Zixin were entertaining 4 distinguished guests. Heaven and Earth, Feng Tian, Feng Di who had recovered, and Xiao Yi. Act tough King Xiao. Qing Tiandi was still dressed lazily like a university graduate. Xiao Yi was called over by Bai Zixin today. The 2 families were considered allies in the north. Now that they were in the south together, they had to advance and retreat together. Xiao Yi, this is Qing Tian, this is Feng Tian, this is Feng Di. Bai Zixin introduced them with a smile while Wang Debao stood behind her. He didn't really approve of his wife's actions this time, because he couldn't see through this god raising heaven and earth, and that Feng Tian was also very strange. However, his wife insisted on cooperating. As her husband, how could he not agree? He only hoped that there wouldn't be any trouble. Xiao Yi stood up and faintly said, I, Xiao Yi, will never be someone's subordinate or hired thug. If the people from the space-time branch heard Xiao Yi's words, they would definitely fire him. How could he not act cool? Atlas smiled and said, Xiao Yi, we are a team. We help each other and cooperate. I just formed this team. Have you seen the Avengers? I am Captain America. You are all my teammates, not my subordinates. I like Thanos. Feng Di clenched his fists as if he wanted to snap his fingers. Heaven and Earth Pagoda smiled faintly and said, if we have more experts, then the combat power of the team will increase. Why did you gather so many people together? Xiao Yi asked curiously. Suddenly, Qing Tiandi's expression became very serious. The darkness is coming. We should be fully prepared to welcome the terrifying darkness. Wang Debao did not understand. What darkness is coming? I have only seen the invasion of darkness. It is scary. Heaven and Earth Pagoda's serious expression suddenly collapsed. You have seen the invasion of darkness? I have seen it too. Can't you be serious? Feng Di said in a deep voice. Sometimes he really could not stand this Heaven and Earth Pagoda. Heaven and Earth Pagoda coughed embarrassedly. His expression became serious again. In our world, there are many unknown factors. It is scary. Then you must have seen Silent Hill. Wang Debao suddenly interrupted. Heaven and Earth Pagoda's expression changed again. He smiled and said, "Yeah, it feels good. The atmosphere is very good." Wang Debao, can you be quiet? Bai Cixin could not stand it anymore. Why did all the experts have such a hobby? Heaven and Earth Pagoda smiled at Wang Debao. It seemed like he was saying, let's discuss the movie later. Maybe one of them will win an award. Heaven and Earth Pagoda's expression darkened again. Our world is at the center of the universe's accident. Rebirth, time travel, all kinds of things. I believe that none of you are local, right? Maybe you are from another world. For example, the Emperor Immortal. Xiao Yi was shocked. How did this man know about him? I also know that you are working for the Time Branch. Heaven and Earth Pagoda's words shocked everyone. Bai Cixin asked in a deep voice, what is the Time Branch? It is to catch those people who have been reborn and time-traveled, Heaven and Earth Pagoda said. Feng Di and Feng Tian were not from Earth, but it was their first time hearing about the Time Branch. Miss Bai, do you have egg tarts here? Heaven and Earth Pagoda asked curiously. Bai Cixin was a little depressed too. I will order one for your Meituan. Me too. Feng Di raised his hand. Wang Debao touched his nose. I will order beef meatballs and spaghetti. Bai Cixin was speechless. They might as well eat. Xiao Yi, what about you? I will order a chaos. Bai Cixin looked at Feng Tian. What do you want to eat? A hamburger combo. I don't want Coke, I want Sprite. Bai Cixin felt dizzy. What was wrong with these people? Mr. Qing, please continue. Bai Cixin continued to ask after she bought the food. It seemed that she needed to learn more. Heaven and Earth Pagoda nodded. His face darkened again. The darkness before dawn is coming. This time, there will be terrifying rebirths and time travelers. So, I want to gather everyone to work together and protect our home. Are we getting paid? Wang Debao asked curiously. Heaven and Earth Pagoda paused. He stood up and clenched his fists. How can we talk about money? This is a great thing. We will be like the Avengers and fight against the alien invasion. Sorry, I don't have time to save the world with you. Xiao Yi's face turned cold. He stood up and prepared to leave. Heaven and Earth Pagoda slowly leaned on the sofa. You have forgotten about killing your wife so quickly? Xiao Yi stopped and slowly turned to look at Heaven and Earth. What do you mean? I mean it literally. Evil is everywhere. We should eradicate evil and bring justice to the world. Ding dong ding dong. Chapter 5:19. Wang Debao went out and brought all the food in. He placed them on the table and continued to listen. This egg tart is not bad. Which shop did you buy it from? Qing Tiandi asked curiously. If Mr. Qing likes it, I can send it to you every day. Thank you, Miss Bai. Tiandi smiled. Why did he look like a CX leader? Feng Tian asked. Qing Tundi, now that you've eaten, can you speak now? Have you heard of the 5-year cycle? Tian Tiendi took out a napkin and wiped his mouth, then folded the napkin and put it aside. Everyone shook their heads. I'll have to start from a long time ago. You won't understand even if I tell you. Anyway, every 5 years, there will be terrifying reincarnators and transmigrators, and these 5 years are about to arrive. Xiao Yi sat down and asked, what happened in the last 5 years? Haven't you already met it? Tian Tiendi asked. This caused Xiao Yi's expression to change and his chest to rise and fall violently. Who the hell was this Qing Tian? How did he know so many things? It was impossible to guess. At this point, Qing Tiandi's expression sank as if he wanted to say something. Wang Debao looked at the egg tart in front of Qing Tian and asked, Mr. Qingnan, do you still want to eat the egg tart? Qing Tiandi's face fell and he smiled, of course. After saying that, he swallowed it in one gulp, as if he would fight with anyone who wanted to snatch it from him. However, everyone looked at Wang Debao. I dare you to say that again. I'll kill you. Everyone watched as Qing Tian wiped his mouth and folded the napkin. His nerves were about to explode. Could he be a little more forceful? Stop dragging it out. Where was I? Tian Tiendi looked at everyone and asked curiously. Bai Cixin squeezed out a smile and said, Mr. Qing, you're going to say that the 5-year round is coming. That's right, I'm going to talk about this. Qing Tian's face darkened, and everyone felt a little unnatural when they saw his expression. They were afraid that he would laugh again. I've calculated it. Next year. This year is going to be the most terrifying one. I'm afraid the strongest person in history will appear this time. Wang Debao swallowed his saliva, then said with a smile, about that, everyone has already eaten their fill, let's disperse, let's disperse. Feng Tian had the urge to pinch this heaven and earth pillar to death. He questioned coldly, what are you trying to say? Tian Di smiled and said, although the enemies are fierce, the treasures they brought are unimaginable. What is an ancient godly item? What was an ancient divine artifact? Even if it's an ancient godly item, it's nothing. You should know that the greater the risk, the greater the reward. Everyone finally understood. This was what it meant to form a party to fight monsters. In fact, they could even gain a good reputation. That felt pretty good. With so many of us together, plus Xiao Yi's internal information, do you think we won't be able to catch those transmigrators? Tian Tiendi looked at Xiao Yi with a knowing smile. Indeed, Xiao Yi also knew that some of the reincarnators were very strong. Even the Bureau didn't do anything. If they gathered more strong reincarnators, they could snatch those people. That would be a great harvest. I will join. Xiao Yi said gravely. Using the convenience of his position to earn some extra money seemed pretty good. He could even escape from the control of time and space branch. Bai Cixin said gravely, I will join as well. Seeing that even his wife had joined, what else could Wang Debao say? I will join. Tian Tiendi looked at Feng Tian and Feng Di. Feng Tian was the main fighter, he couldn't be missing. How are we going to split it? Feng Tian asked. Tian Tiendi said faintly, those who put in more effort will naturally get more points. I will make an evaluation report for every battle, don't worry. Alright, let's find someone to test our strength first. Let's see if your evaluation report is reliable or not. Tian Tiendi nodded his head. Of course, Xiao Yi, you can choose a target first. Tang family. Tang Wushuang. Xiao Yi said coldly. This was obviously using his position to take revenge on a personal grudge. Alright, this was using his position to take revenge on a personal grudge. Xiao Yi wanted Tang Wushuang dead. Thoroughly dead. Wang Debao and Bai Cixin knew that there was enmity between them, but they didn't say anything. In any case, this was just a test to see if the evaluation report was accurate or not. Meanwhile, Tian Tiendi smiled and didn't say anything, his attitude was completely indifferent. Tang Wushuang it shall be then. Feng Tian said gravely, and he had already begun rubbing his palms together. Tian Tiendi smiled lightly, let's do it tonight then. Everyone should have time, if you want to work overtime, you can apply for leave. Everyone laughed lightly. Evidently, they didn't want to play this kind of joke with Tian Tiendi, because it wasn't funny at all. Xiao Yi's gaze was filled with excitement. I didn't expect that there would be such an unexpected harvest this time. Tang Wushuang. You betrayed me. Don't blame me for being ruthless then. Yi Hua had been staying in Voidless Realm for the past few days. On one hand, the air in Voidless Realm was not bad, and on the other hand, Yi Hua would accompany his wife and child. At night, he would sleep here and there. Tonight, it was the Empress's turn to serve Yi Hua in the bed again. Yi Hua displayed his masculinity as a man, and he only stopped after the Empress begged for forgiveness. Those who go against me can only beg for forgiveness. While hugging onto the Empress who had already fainted, Yi Hua felt very comfortable. Smelling the fragrance of Donghuang Baiji's hair and the trace of sweat, Yi Hua gradually fell asleep. Not knowing how long Yi Hua slept for, he heard knocking sounds coming from outside of his door. Yi Hua heard that it was Qingye who was knocking on his door. "Yi Hua, go and open the door," Donghuang Baiji said lazily. Every time after she finished serving her husband, she would want to lie on the bed and spend the next day feeling as if her entire body was floating. Yi Hua rubbed his hands, and the door opened by itself. Qingye walked into the room with an anxious look on her face. "Why are you two still sleeping? It's already 10 a.m. Ali has already finished her morning class." Yi Hua carried Qingye onto the bed, then quickly carried his two wives into his embrace. Finally, half of his wish was fulfilled. "Yi Hua, stop messing around, something happened." "That group of people came out again," Qingye said gravely. Yi Hua was a bit puzzled. Wasn't that group of people being targeted by Brett? Didn't Yi Hua arrange for that group of people? Donghuang Baiji asked tenderly. Qingye shook her head. "It's that group of people, they are the ones who exterminated the Southern Sex and Ding family back then." "Yi Hua, how is that possible? Didn't we defeat that person back then? Didn't he say that he wouldn't appear again?" Donghuang Baiji immediately sat up. Qingye let out a breath. "Last night, Tang family was exterminated." "Which Tang family?" Yi Hua asked curiously. "Tang Wushuang," Qingye said. Donghuang Baiji's brows wrinkled. "This Tang Wushuang's strength is not bad. How did he get killed?" Chapter 520. A trace of doubt appeared on Yi Hua's face. "In my impression, Tang Wushuang is a man who has a lot of wives. All of them were exterminated?" Yi Hua asked. Qingye nodded her head calmly. All of them?" The Cultivation World's forum exploded. Everyone is discussing this matter. "Did that group of people appear again?" Yi Hua was sure that it wasn't done by his own people, but the person who did it was even more inhumane than the Supreme Overlord himself. "I will go and ask about the situation. You all be careful," Yi Hua said faintly, then disappeared from the bed. Returning back to the bedroom of the bar, Yi Hua took a shower and changed into a clean black suit. The collar of the suit was slightly open, and the suit gave off a trace of untamed feeling. "Brett!" Yi Hua called out faintly. Brett's figure slowly appeared and said respectfully, "Subordinate pays respect to your honor." "Did those people take action last night?" Yi Hua leaned against the window and looked towards the hot pot restaurant that was not far away. "They did." "Was Tang family exterminated by them?" Brett said faintly, "They indeed exterminated a family last night, and it should be the Tang family that your honor mentioned." "Reason?" Yi Hua took a puff of his cigarette. "It really is that group of people," Brett said gravely, "for the evaluation test." "Evaluation test?" Yi Hua turned his head and looked towards Brett. "Yes, subordinate heard about it yesterday. They said that there will be a cycle of 5 years, and next year will be the start of the cycle of 5 years. There will be a lot of reincarnated experts that will appear, so they are planning to form a group to rob those experts." Brett's words caused Yi Hua to wrinkle his brows. "A cycle of 5 years? My appearance seems to be at this time, which means that after these 5 years, there will be even more powerful experts that will appear? Interesting." "Who are they?" Yi Hua asked gravely. "Qing Tiandi, Feng Tian, Feng Di, Xiao Yi, Bai Zixin, Wang Debao. They are currently recruiting a large number of experts and are planning to form a group." "Xiao Yi," Yi Hua muttered. "I really didn't expect that this Xiao Yi would actually appear again, and he even changed his master." "Your Honor, this Xiao Yi is currently still a field member of Time and Space Branch," Brett added. Yi Hua was a bit surprised, and an unexpected smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. "If I didn't remember wrongly, Blue Blaze Planet is Time and Space Branch, right?" "Of course, Time and Space Branch controls the laws of the entire Milky Way galaxy, and Time and Space Branch controls the entire galaxy. Earth is one." "I see, Time and Space Branch control the entire galaxy. Of galaxy." They have a complete system. They will slowly observe those who are strong and will not make a move on their own. As for the weaker ones, they will send field personnel to subdue them, Yi Futian said. Of Hua said, of Yi of the Hua. Yi of Hua said, Yi of Yi of Hua. Wei of Shao of the of Liang. That is because your honor is magnanimous. Of Hua of the Supreme Tian of Yi. No need, you just have to continue watching over them. I want to see what else they can do. In actuality, Yi Hua didn't want Wei to take action. Instead, he wanted Qinya to take action. After all, back then, Qinya pleaded for leniency for Shao Yi. This subordinate obeys. Yi Hua was very satisfied with his subordinate's attitude. Zhu Tian said, Your Honor, Zhu Tian is no longer related to subordinate. Subordinate pleads with your honor to not mention him anymore. Forget it, I will not mention him anymore. Yi Hua shook his head. Wei is determined to not reconcile with Zhu Tian. Thank you for your understanding, your honor. Go, don't tire yourself out. Seeing that Wei had disappeared, Yi Hua lit up another stick of cigarette. Just what is this group of people trying to do? Their goal is definitely not that simple. That, heaven and earth, is a bit interesting. I hope that you can give me a pleasant surprise. Don't be too weak. Right now, I have to tell this good news to Qinya. This is truly an exciting good news. Returning back to Voidless Realm, Yi Hua gathered his 2 wives and told them everything that he knew. As expected, Qinya's expression was extremely black. Even if you beat her to death, I would never have thought that Shao Yi would also be involved in this matter. In the past, I thought that Shao Yi was a pitiful person, which was why he had a conflict with Yi Hua. However, I didn't expect that Shao Yi was actually this kind of scum, exterminating his entire family. Donghuang Baiji's slender index finger tapped on the table rhythmically. Exterminating Tang family just for the sake of testing and evaluation, this statement is truly outrageous. Yi Hua nodded his head. It is indeed outrageous. I hate this kind of people the most. Qinya took a look at her husband apologetically, deeply expressing her apology. I shouldn't have treated you like that. Receiving Qinya's guilty gaze, Yi Hua's entire body felt comfortable. How are the 2 of you going to deal with this matter? After all, this matter was discovered in the south, and the 2 of you have no reason to interfere in this matter. Yi Hua was very curious about what his 2 wives were planning to do. Yi Hua hoped that the 2 of them would be decisive in killing and not have the thought of being soft-hearted. This kind of people will take action sooner or later, it is only a matter of time. Donghuang Baiji said gravely, I will consider it properly. Qinya lowered her head and remained silent. All right, if you don't want to do it, I can do it. Yi Hua said faintly. In actuality, he didn't want to dirty his wife's hands. Qinya said gravely, Yi Hua, leave this matter to us. Yi Hua laughed lightly. All right, I won't bother with this matter then, I will only provide you with information. After finished speaking, Yi Hua didn't disturb his 2 wives' discussion and walked over to accompany his daughter. Meanwhile, Dong Huangli was also very happy. Daddy was able to accompany me for a day, and for the entire day, Dong Huangli brought her father to walk around the entire Voidless Realm. Little Ali's laughter could be heard everywhere, and when the people from Voidless Realm saw how happy their little highness was, they also laughed along with Ali. If they were to know that Yi Hua was the person who instigated the Voidless Realm, it was unknown if they would still be smiling. After all, a lot of people's loved ones had died in that battle. At night, Qinya personally cooked a sumptuous dinner to reward her husband. Yi Hua naturally knew what his wife was trying to do. His hard work and conscience didn't go to waste, and he felt gratified. However, right after Yi Hua finished eating, Qinya pulled Yi Hua into her bedroom, then pushed Yi Hua onto the bed without saying a word. Yi Hua was dumbfounded by Qinya's actions. Today, Qinya is very proactive. In fact, she is very, very energetic. In the past, I would only passively enjoy it, but tonight she actually changed from defending to attacking. This made Yi Hua become a lying corpse, and he could only watch as Qinya tried her best to please him. After a long while, Yihua hugged onto Qinya tightly and asked, "What happened tonight?" Chapter 521. In Yihua's impression, Qinya was a woman who was soft on the outside but hard on the inside. In the past, whenever he angered Qinya would never shed a tear, and today, she actually cried. The main body was a little flustered. Lightly turning his wife around, Qinya could see that Qinya's beautiful face was covered with tears, as if she had suffered a huge grievance. Her pair of beautiful eyes were completely red. This caused Yihua's heart to ache to death. At the same time, Yihua was also very angry. Which scoundrel actually wronged my wife to such an extent? All right, don't cry. Yihua consoled with a calm face. Yihua, I'm sorry, it's all my fault. Qinya couldn't help but start bawling loudly. For the sake of a person like Yihua, falling out with my husband is really not worth it. What if my husband were to divorce me at that time? Fortunately, Yihua didn't pursue this matter. Thinking about this matter, Qinya was regretting to the point that her intestines turned green. Yihua treated me so well, and yet, I treated my husband in such a manner and spoke coldly to him. Yihua was wondering what was going on, but it turned out that it was because of that damned Xiao Yi. Alright, you can't be blamed entirely for this. You have just come into contact with this world not too long ago, and it is inevitable that you would be taken advantage of by some people with ulterior motives. Yihua lightly caressed Qinya and consoled her. Qinya nestled in Yihua's embrace and cried out, "Yihua, I regret it so much, I'm sorry. I'm not a good wife." Hearing Qinya's words, Yihua was a bit moved. Am I being too strict with them? Foolish woman, you are my Yihua's wife in this lifetime. Although you have done a lot of foolish things in the past, I will not blame you. Only a person with extremely thick skin would be able to say something like this. However, Yihua said it confidently and confidently. More importantly, Qinya felt that what her husband said was very reasonable. Yihua, thank you for treating me so well. Now you know that I'm good to you. I asked you to sleep with Baiji, but you still didn't agree. This makes me very sad. Seizing the opportunity was the king. If he didn't ask for it now, when would he? Right now, Qinya was feeling incomparably guilty. Of course, this was the best time for her to do so. I promise you, as long as Baiji is willing. Yihua was feeling great in his heart. Right now, I have already dealt with one of them, and only the Empress is left. The day where I will be able to have two beauties in my arms is not far away. He secretly imagined that kind of scene. It would definitely be extremely exciting. Qinya, as your husband, I am very happy that you have this kind of awareness. Don't think too much, just go and sleep. Yihua kissed onto the forehead of his wife and hugged onto her tightly. Feeling her husband's warmth, Qinya nodded and leaned into the warmest embrace in the world. 1 hour. 2 hours. Qinya slowly opened her beautiful eyes and looked at her husband who was sleeping soundly. Stretching out her hand, she lightly caressed Yihua's face and muttered, "Yihua, you have done too much for us. As your wife, I am truly ashamed that I am unable to help you. If you are a demon, I am willing to accompany you to the end." Qinya took a deep breath, then stealthily kissed Yihua's lips. After that, she lightly left her husband's embrace, got onto the bed, took a look at her husband who was lying on the bed, then disappeared from the bedroom. Meanwhile, the corner of Yihua who was sleeping soundly on the bed revealed a trace of an arc. It is truly not easy to lead a wife astray. Gaohai City. Nanny number 3 was a group of villas that the rich and celebrities lived in. Looking from the outside, the inside seemed to be very low-key, but if one were to enter the villa, one would be stupefied by those expensive luxuries. The moment Xiao Yi came from the north, he bought the villa here. The villa that was 800 square meters was worth 200 million. It could be seen that the villas here were not something that ordinary people could afford. In the garden outside of the villa, Xiao Yi was currently teaching his son Xiao Yun how to play with the ball. And when Xiao Yun saw that his father was so amazing, his little palm kept on slapping the ball. At the pavilion at the side, Shu Nan and Yu Qi, who had a big belly, were sitting there, watching the father and son playing with each other with a smile on their faces. "Dad, why did you become so good at football?" Xiao Yun caught the football that his father brought over and asked while grinning. Xiao Yi revealed out a loving smile and patted onto his son's head. "Only when I play football well will there be girls who like me." "Then, is it because of this that mommy likes daddy?" Xiao Yun asked. Xiao Yi smiled and nodded his head. "Yes, back then, your mommy was captivated by daddy's figure." "Daddy, then when is mommy coming back? She has already gone on a business trip for so long." Xiao Yun pouted his little mouth. He really missed his mother. "Soon, daddy will come back and bring mommy back very soon." Xiao Yi's gaze revealed out a determined look. "It is just a matter of time before I obtain the items that I need to revive Nangong Cine, and I will be able to revive Nangong Cine very soon." Xiao Yun nodded his head. "En believes in daddy." "All right, quickly go and sleep, you still have to go to school tomorrow." "All right." Xiao Yun skipped and ran upstairs, while Xiao Yi sat in between his two wives. Xiao Yi picked up the wanglaji that was on the table and drank a mouthful of it, then let out a deep breath. Shu Nan felt that her husband was hiding something from her. He had been a bit mysterious these past 2 days. Yu Qi, who was at the side, also seemed to have the same thought. "The two of you should rest early." Xiao Yi let out a breath once again. Shu Nan couldn't help but ask, "Brother Xiao, are you hiding something from us?" Xiao Yi, who stood up, paused for a moment, then revealed a smile on his face. "How could that be? There is nothing that I am hiding from you two. The pressure from work has been a bit big recently, that's all." After being husband and wife for so many years, how could they not be able to tell that their husband was hiding something from them? However, if her husband didn't say what he could do, it was definitely because he didn't want them to worry. It was precisely because of this that Shu Nan and Yu Qi were endlessly worried. Meanwhile, Yu Qi rubbed her stomach. "It's going to be the due date soon. I hope that nothing unexpected will happen. Brother Xiao, can't we just live a normal life? Don't get involved in those things anymore." Yu Qi didn't care about Shu Nan's gaze and spoke out to persuade Xiao Yi. From Yu Qi's point of view, she just wanted her family to live a normal life together. She didn't want to not be able to wait for her husband to come back home one day, and she didn't want to hear the news of misfortune. This kind of fear lingered in Yu Qi's mind, and if not for Shu Nan accompanying her, she might have already suffered from depression. Xiao Yi looked at Yu Qi and the child in her stomach, and a struggle could be seen in his gaze. Normal life? I might not be able to live an ordinary life in this life. I have already fallen deeply into it, and I can no longer jump out. Not to mention ordinary life. There are a lot of hatred waiting for me to take revenge. As an immortal emperor, how can I tolerate others trampling on my head? These people are just my springboard. In the future, when I rise to power, I will make the entire world tremble under my feet, and I will make Voidless Realm pay a painful price. The humiliation I suffered back then, I will return it to you all with interest. Yu Qi. Chapter 522. Xiao Yi and the others looked at the figure that suddenly appeared with deep doubt in their eyes. "Xiao Qing." Shu Nan shouted out confusedly. Qin Ya's beautiful eyes stared fixedly at Xiao Yi. Back then, I felt that Xiao Yi was pitiful because he got into a conflict with Yi Hua. However, I didn't expect that Xiao Yi's nature would be so vile that he actually massacred the entire Tang family. Even those defenseless women were slaughtered without exception. Yet, I blame Yi Hua for being ruthless because of such a person. Qin Ya, you really shouldn't have. Qin Ya slowly stretched out her right hand, and the golden Xian Yuan sword appeared in her hand, emitting a dazzling radiance. Today, Qin Ya and Donghuang Baiji had come to an agreement. This matter is my fault, and thus, I will be the one to resolve this matter. Qin Ya pulled Yi Hua to sleep early in the morning and wanted to sneak out of the room. Doing some things that should have been done by me, I can't let my husband keep doing it. As a wife, I have the obligation to help my husband settle some of the dirty work. This time, Xiao Yi must die. If not, I would be letting Yi Hua down. He couldn't get over the hurdle in his heart. What's more, Xiao Yi did something like this, so he should be killed. Facing Qin Ye's attack, Xiao Yi and the others' expressions changed. Especially Xiao Yi. Seeing his Xinyuan sword in someone else's hand, he didn't know what to feel. Furthermore, this Qin Ye's relationship with the Empress seems to be pretty good, and she's also that boss's woman. What exactly is her intention in coming over this time? Were they going to kill him? Shu Nan hurriedly stood up and asked, "So Qin, this is? Is there some misunderstanding between us?" Qin Ye said in a deep voice, "Shu Nan, Yu Qi, please step back." Qin Ye didn't want these two women to see such a scene, in case they couldn't stand it. As a woman, Qin Ye understood. But today, he would not be soft-hearted, absolutely not. "CEO Qin, if there's anything, we can talk about it," Shu Nan said anxiously with a pleading tone. Her husband must have done something big outside. Otherwise, it was impossible for him to come looking for them. "Shu Nan, there's nothing to talk about. Your husband destroyed the entire Tang family yesterday." Qin Ye's words made Xiao Yi's expression sink. How did she know? When Shu Nan and Yu Qi heard this, they immediately felt dizzy. Their husband had killed his brother's entire family. In actuality, the two women had also heard about what happened today, and they had even suspected whether or not it was their husband who did it. However, when they thought that their husband didn't have the Xianyuan sword anymore, they thought that it shouldn't be that easy for him to kill Tang Wushuang, and they didn't expect that it was really their husband who did it. This is simply unimaginable. Even if you have a grudge, it should be against Tang Wushuang. Why don't you even let off those women? This was something that Shu Nan and Yu Qi didn't expect. In the past, we were all good friends. After all, Xiao Yi wasn't this kind of person in the past. However, Xiao Yi had experienced too much recently. After so many things, Xiao Yi's entire personality had changed. He was no longer the Xiao Yi of the past. "CEO Qin, is there really no way to save it?" Shu Nan felt that her entire body had no strength. She clearly wanted her husband's life. Qin Ye heaved a sigh of relief and said faintly, "I will ensure your safety after this." Xiao Yi's face was gloomy, and he had not said a single word since the start. Right now, he was currently trying to determine if he had the ability to kill the opponent, and the answer was still unclear. Shu Nan didn't have any other choice and could only plead towards Qin Ye. "Qin Ye, for the sake of our child, please spare Brother Xiao for this moment. Just like last time, use my life to exchange for Brother Zhao's life." Yu Qi also kneeled down. "So Qing, my child is going to be born soon. I don't want her to lose her father the moment she makes a sound. I beg of you. I will kowtow to you right here." As a pregnant woman as well, how could Qin Ye not know how Yu Qi felt? During those few days when Yihua wasn't by her side, even she herself felt suffocated, let alone someone like Yu Qi. "Xiao, are you still a man or not, to actually ask your wife to plead for you?" Qin Ye shouted out toward Xiao Yi. This man actually didn't budge at all, causing Qin Ye to be even more disappointed. Xiao Yi looked at Qin Ye and said slowly, "Su Qing, have I, Xiao, ever wronged you? Are you going to exterminate me like this? I believe that yesterday night, Tang Wushuang also said the same thing to you, and what about you guys?" "Xiao Yi, I had originally thought that you were a man with a sense of responsibility, but in actuality, I was thinking too much." Xiao Yi laughed lightly. "Seems like tonight won't be so easy to pass by." "Ah." Yu Qi suddenly held onto her stomach, her face filled with pain. Shu Nan hurriedly ran over to take a look, and immediately saw that Yu Qi looked like she was about to give birth. Her water had even broken. This kind of situation was something that Qin Ye didn't expect. "Qin Ye, can I watch my daughter being born?" Xiao Yi said gravely. Qin Ye pondered for a while, then nodded her head. This kind of request isn't too much. Xiao Yi hurriedly carried Yu Qi and went upstairs, while Shu Nan hurriedly went to call other people to help. Qin Ye didn't enter the house. She stood in the garden and waited. "This is the first time I'm doing this kind of thing. It's really hard to get used to it." On the second floor of the villa, Xiao Yi stood outside the door with his brows tightly wrinkled. His wife's painful shouts could be heard from inside the room, and his heart sunk to the bottom. At this moment, Xiao Yi recalled the scene when he met them when he had just reincarnated. During that time, There were both happiness and sadness. After going through all the ups and downs, the powerful Shao family was created, but because of a gamble, the curtains fell. Is this my life? This emperor's life isn't controlled by the heavens, my life is controlled by my own hands. But along with the sound of a baby crying, Xiao Yi's muddy eyes suddenly became clear. This newborn baby seemed to have awakened the conscience in Xiao Yi's heart, causing him to instantly sober up. Xiao Yun, who was inside the house, walked out. Looking at his father, who was in a daze, Xiao Yun held onto his father's hand. "Dad, is little sister born?" Xiao Yi looked at his son, who was in front of him, and listened to the crying sound in the room. At this moment, Xiao Yi's heart was filled with puzzlement. What exactly did I do all of this for? Was it for becoming stronger, or was it for letting them live a better life? At this moment, Xiao Yi was unable to determine his original intention. "Dad?" Xiao Yun shook onto his father's hand again and asked with a questioning look in his eyes. Xiao Yi carried his son up and lightly tidied up his son's hair. "Yun, you are a boy. As a boy, I have to take good care of everyone in the family. Yun will always remember this." Xiao Yun appeared to be very sensible. Yun is so obedient. In the future, the responsibility on Yun-er's shoulders will be even bigger. Xiao Yi said with a slight smile on his face. At this moment, Xiao Yi seemed to have understood something. Powerful strength, unprecedented authority, none of those can compare to the warmth of a family. Yun-er, in the future, you will become a man that can make Dad proud. Xiao Yi was amused by his son's words. "You brat, you are already calling yourself a man at such a young age." Chapter 523. Yun-er is now the little man of the family, and in the future, you still have to take care of your little sister. Quickly go back and sleep, study well, and come and see your little sister tomorrow. After speaking, Xiao Yi placed his son down. Xiao Yun nodded his head, then turned his head back to look at his father every 3 steps, then walked into the room. Looking at his son's little back, Xiao Yi felt that this was the last time he would see his son. Humans, when they do something wrong, they have to take responsibility. This is something that cannot be avoided. Even if they temporarily avoid it, it will still appear again in the future. It's not that I won't take revenge, it's just that it's not time yet. After taking a deep breath, Xiao Yi pushed open the door and walked into the bedroom. Looking at his wives, Yuqi was weakly lying on the bed, and Shunan was hugging their newborn daughter. Xiao Yi let out a breath, then revealed a smile and laughed loudly. "Let me take a look at our family's little princess." Shunan carefully placed the baby in her embrace onto her husband's hands. Her face was filled with hesitation and confusion. Xiao Yi lowered his head and looked at his daughter. Her hands were moving back and forth, and her mouth was mumbling, looking exactly the same as when his son was born. Xiao Yi couldn't help but reveal a trace of a smile. "Brother Xiao, give your daughter a name." Yuqi, who was lying on the bed, said weakly. Sweat had drenched her soft hair, making her look very delicate. Xiao Yi nodded his head, then said with a smile, "Let's call her Xiao Nian." Xiao Nian, Shunan, and Yuqi's beautiful faces were filled with despair. Although their husband did something that angered even the gods, but in the end, he was still their husband. "Shunan, in the future, the family will be relying on you," Xiao Yi said with a smile, then gently placed his daughter into his wife's embrace. Unexpectedly, his daughter grabbed onto his finger. Although she didn't use much strength, it was still a sign of something. At this moment, Xiao Yi's heart was collapsing. People only know how to cherish when they lose something. He had already lost Cinny, but he didn't understand the true meaning of it, and was walking step by step towards the abyss, unable to return. Lightly breaking away from his daughter's hand, Xiao Nian seemed to have felt that his father was about to leave him, and he immediately started crying. Looking at his life's loves, Xiao Yi's breathing became a bit hurried. "Perhaps I should have died last time. Life, this is life. I'm sorry." Xiao Yi took one last deep look at his wives, carving their faces into every cell in his body. "If there is a next life, I will live a good life with them, but in this life, I will have to let them down." After saying this, Xiao Yi turned around and left, then set up a barrier. "Brother Xiao." Shu Nan and Yu Qi screamed miserably. Yu Qi even fell off the bed. She crawled to the door and knocked on the barrier. Xiao Yi stood at the door and gasped for breath. I didn't expect that this kind of farewell would be so painful. When did I become such a person, to lose myself? After taking a few deep breaths, Xiao Yi walked downstairs to the garden. Qinya said faintly, change to another place? But Xiao Yi nodded. The two of them disappeared into the garden. Next to the window on the second floor, Xiao Yi's wives looked at their man's disappearing figure and cried. Next to a small window, Xiao Yun also looked at his father's disappearing figure and thought that his father had gone out to work again. He didn't know if he would come home tomorrow. Qinya and Xiao Yi arrived at a desolate and uninhabited mountain area. The two of them stood opposite to each other. Qinya's beautiful face was covered with a layer of frost, while Xiao Yi's gaze was calm, seemingly intending to resist. Come on. If you want to take my, Xiao Yi's life, let's see if you have the strength to do so. Suddenly, Xiao Yi let out a strong spiritual pressure. This spiritual pressure was even stronger than the previous Xiao Yi. The spiritual pressure engulfed the surrounding trees, causing them to start swaying crazily. Qinya held onto Xianyuan's sword and revealed a firm look. Xiao Yi, you only have yourself to blame for this. I, Xiao Yi, will never regret what I have done. Xiao Yi, who was in a frenzy, his aura rose by a bit, the muscles all over his body started bulging, and his huge fist started flickering with golden light. Soon after, Xiao Yi punched out. This punch burst out with an ear-piercing sonic boom. The aura was surging violently, everything in the surroundings seemed to have frozen, becoming the embellishment of this punch. Qinya's beautiful eyes narrowed. Without a trace of pity, Xianyuan's sword that was in her hand shone with golden light, immediately lighting up the darkness of the night. A strong sword chi suddenly emitted out, and Xianyuan's sword fiercely stabbed out. An invisible sword chi that brought along a terrifying might struck towards Xiao Yi. Bang! At this moment, time seemed to have stopped. Xiao Yi's fist stopped in front of Qinya. The autumn breeze was a bit cold, blowing on the two of them. Xiao Yi laughed and slowly stood up. Why didn't you dodge? Qinya asked in a low voice. Xiao Yi didn't explain. He looked up at the starry sky. Xiao Qing, do the words you said before still count? Qinya nodded her head. The words she said before naturally count. I, Xiao Yi, have a lot of enemies. Now I just want to use my life to exchange for their safety, to live a peaceful life. If you knew this would happen, you wouldn't have done it in the first place. Qinya said slowly. This could be counted as Xiao Yi's last words before he died. Xiao Yi smiled faintly. This is the path I chose, a path I can't turn back on. I can't blame others. After hearing this, Qinya didn't say anything. The path is chosen by oneself, then one must bear the responsibility. I am a bit happy that you came and not others, Xiao Qing. There are still a lot of unknown things in this world. You have to be more careful in the future. The strength of that group of people is a lot stronger than me. When a person is about to die, his words are kind. Qinya nodded her head. She accepted Xiao Yi's kindness. Looking at his Xianyuan sword, Xiao Yi asked, can you let me use it again? Qinya didn't think too much. She threw the Xianyuan sword in her hand to Xiao Yi. Xiao Yi caught the sword in his hand and caressed the blade, feeling the call of an old friend and the apology. This sword has accompanied me for a long time. Only now do I know that there are too many things I am unwilling to part with in this world. Xiao Yi took a deep breath. His gaze became lax. The palm on the blade of the sword began to gradually dissipate, turning into specks of starlight. Xiao Yi slowly closed his eyes, recalling the people he cherished in his mind, flashing through his mind again and again. I'm sorry? I still couldn't do it. The Xianyuan sword fell to the ground. Xiao Yi's body turned into specks of starlight, and along with a light breeze, he disappeared. The Xianyuan sword let out a whining sound. The light on the blade of the sword also dimmed. The tough king of a generation fell. The celestial emperor of a generation fell. It wasn't that he wasn't strong enough, it was that he offended someone he couldn't afford to offend. Qinya slowly let out a breath, stretched out her hand, and the Xianyuan sword on the ground fell into her hand, then disappeared. Chapter 524. After returning to the bedroom, seeing that Yi Hua was still sleeping soundly, Qinya felt relieved. She quietly took off her clothes, then lightly lied on the bed and leaned on her husband's embrace. Her mood was very complicated, not knowing if what she did was right or wrong. "I'm back," Yi Hua said faintly with his eyes closed. Qinya cried out in surprise, "Yi Hua, you didn't sleep?" "My wife went out in the middle of the night, how can she sleep?" Yi Hua said faintly while hugging Qinya. Without waiting for Qinya to finish, Yi Hua said in a deep voice, "Qinya, there are a lot of things that are not up to you. Maybe the good things that you do are bad things in the eyes of others, but the bad things that you do are good things in the eyes of others. Xiao Yi died, his family would naturally feel pain, but if Xiao Yi didn't die, more people would die, wouldn't their family feel pain? You just did what you should do, this world has always been like this, it's either you die or I live, although it is very cruel, this is fate." How would Qinya not know this logic? But it was very difficult to do it, especially when the other party was repenting. She even wanted to let him go. "Yi Hua, I promised Xiao Yi that I would protect his family's safety, you won't blame me, right?" Qinya asked worriedly. "You won't say that I am soft-hearted again, right?" However, this time, Yi Hua didn't reprimand her, he even said, "Leave this matter to me, you can be at ease, whatever you say is also my promise." "Other people?" Qinya asked. Yi Hua said faintly, "You don't have to care about other people, I want to see what else they want to do." "And I understand. Go to sleep, you are tired too." Qinya was indeed a bit tired, although she didn't move much, she still felt tired both physically and mentally. Yi Hua lightly hugged Qinya. This is just a small matter, and it made Qinya so tired, if I were to encounter a situation like Heaven's Mansion, I would probably faint. As for Xiao Yi's family, Yi Hua didn't plan to leave them on Earth, he planned to leave them on Blue Blaze Planet. No one would know them there, and they could start a new life. "I'll let Brett handle this matter, she is very familiar with Blue Blaze Planet." Although it was already late at night, Yi Hua still asked Brett to immediately handle this matter. Xiao Yi died, his family members would most likely be in danger very soon. Qinya, the Supreme Overlord, would never break her promise. Qinya's every action outside represented the Supreme Overlord. After Brett received Yi Hua's order, he didn't have any doubts and immediately went to do it. Right now, the Xiao family was completely silent. Shu Nan and the others were sitting paralyzed in the house, and there wasn't the slightest bit of color on their faces. Xiao Nian was still crying loudly. As the sound of high heels came from the door, everyone in the room became alert. Brett easily broke through the barrier Xiao Yi had set up and then pushed open the door. Shu Nan looked at this unfamiliar woman and protected Xiao Nian in his arms. "Who are you?" Shu Nan asked coldly. Brett glanced at them and said indifferently, "The person who will take you away." Hearing this, the few of them understood that their husbands would probably never come back. Looking at these crying women, Brett was a little impatient. There was not a single good man, they only knew how to make women cry. "Hurry up! Those people are coming!" Although Brett wasn't afraid, he didn't want to spoil his honors plan. Shu Nan was a rational woman. For the future generations of the Xiao family, she had to leave. Zhang Xian hurriedly woke up Xiao Yun. "Mom, where are we going?" Xiao Yun rubbed his eyes and asked curiously. Shu Nan didn't have time to explain. "We're going out to play for a few days." "But Yun still has to go to school tomorrow." Shu Nan squatted down and squeezed out a smile. "Yun, don't worry. Mummy will apply for leave for you." "Okay then, where's father?" Xiao Yun looked around and noticed an unfamiliar woman. He sized her up curiously. She was really beautiful. Shu Nan's heart sank. "Dad is still working. He'll be here soon. And don't let Daddy be so busy with work. When Yuna grows up, she will help Daddy." Shu Nan nodded. "Daddy will be proud of Yun." Brett's face darkened. "If you have anything to say, go over there and say it." Shu Nan stood up, pulled Xiao Yun's hand and asked, "Where are we going?" "A place you have never been to," Brett said coldly. He looked at the women in the living room and spread his hands. A green light slowly wrapped around everyone, and then disappeared in an instant. However, Less than a minute after Brett left, Wu Lu from the space-time branch appeared at the scene. He was just sleeping when he heard the alarm. He saw that Xiao Yi was dead. He immediately lost his sleepiness and hurried over to check the situation. After all, Xiao Yi's strength was not bad. He was a very strong fighter, and there was still some use in keeping him. Looking at the empty villa, Wu Lu frowned deeply. How did they all disappear in an instant? After checking, Wu Lu also left. He let out a deep sigh. Xiao Yi was probably killed by his enemies. Even his wife and children were not spared. How tragic! It seems that the employee's death allowance was saved. He didn't have any extra money to give out. Not long after Wu Lu left, another man arrived. He was none other than Heaven and Earth. Qing Tian walked in the living room and took out a tissue. He wiped his hands with a faint smile on his face. Sigh, what a pity. He was actually killed. Interesting. It seems that I need to recruit some talents. Qing Tian folded the tissue in his hand and placed it on the table. He slowly walked out of the door. No one knew what he was thinking, but it gave off a very strange feeling. On the other side, Brett brought Xiao Yi's family members to Blue Blaze Planet and directly went to look for Shidingding. This is his honor's territory. I have to ensure their safety. After all, there are my own people here, so I can be more at ease. If I throw them to some other place, it would be equivalent to letting them fend for themselves. Meanwhile, Shu Nan and the others' vision turned black. Soon after, they felt as if they had arrived in a sci-fi world. When they raised their heads, there were actually two huge satellites in the sky. The satellites seemed as if they were going to fall at any moment. Shi Tingting hurriedly ran out of the villa and shouted out respectfully, "Lord Brett." Shu Nan and the others couldn't react at all. This Brett was definitely called over by Qinya. However, to have power in this unfamiliar place, just who is this Qinya? Make arrangements for these people and ensure their safety. Brett said faintly. Shi Tingting naturally accepted the order unconditionally. Lord Brett, be at ease, I will definitely make arrangements for them. Brett nodded his head, then disappeared from the spot. He came and left quickly. Shi Tingting still wanted to ask when his honor would come, but he didn't even give her a chance. Shi Tingting let out a deep sigh and looked at the women and children. Chapter 525. Shu Nan and the others were completely shocked by what they saw. Their minds were in a daze and they did not even know what they were doing. They were being led like puppets. Xiao Yun, on the other hand, hid behind Shu Nan and looked around curiously at this unfamiliar place. There was surprise in his eyes. He didn't know that his father and mother had left him forever. Perhaps he would only know all of this when he grew up. After Yi Hua, who was in deep sleep, received Brett's report, he didn't say anything and continued to hug onto Qinya as he slept. The next day, the south was shaken once again. After the Tang family, the Xiao family's people all disappeared in a single night. A strange atmosphere pervaded the entire south, and there were even rumors that the group of people had appeared again. Some were even more ridiculous, saying that it was the revenge of the North. However, there are actually people who believe this kind of nonsense. Furthermore, everyone believed that it was done by Voidless Realm. Because Tang family and Xiao family were both families in the North in the past, Voidless Realm decided to make an example out of them. When some clan heads in the North found out about this, they immediately began to browse the forums, saying that the Empress had done well. This kind of trash should be killed, and they, the people of the South, should have a taste of it. As some of the family heads in the North acknowledged it, the South had always thought that this was the Empress' display of power. After all, the South had also participated in forcing the Empress to distribute the longevity fruits in public. In order to show their power, they had done this. The first was to intimidate the South, and the second was to consolidate the position of the North. This Voidless Realm's Empress is so savage, using the lives of two families to do such a thing. But now, the Empress was lying in her husband's arms, unhappy. Yi Hua, I didn't do anything, why are those people targeting me? Dong Huangbaiji was very vexed. These people's imagination has already reached a terrifying level. However, when all of these things are linked together, Voidless Realm is indeed very suspicious. Yi Hua rubbed onto Dong Huang Baiji's head. That's because you are a woman, and you are a woman who doesn't have iron and blood methods. Is intimidation the only way? Dong Huang Baiji asked gravely. In Her Majesty's heart, if it was something that could be resolved peacefully, she would definitely not take action. And in Yi Hua's eyes, if it was something that could be resolved peacefully, he would definitely not take action peacefully. Yi Hua looked at Qingya, who was calmly drinking her tea at the side, and said, "After being an empress for so long, do you still not know about this logic? The current Qingya is much more powerful than you. All right, you two can bully me then." Dong Huang Baiji raised her hands and surrendered. Dong Huang Baiji also knew what Qingya went to do yesterday night. Doing something like this indeed required a lot of courage, but Qingya still did it. Even Dong Huang Baiji started to admire him. One must know that a few months ago, Qingya was only a CEO, not a demoness who kills people without batting an eye. Baiji, actually, you don't have to explain anything now. Just let them misunderstand. However, you still need to establish your authority. Yi Hua slowly stood up and sat beside Qingya, while Qingya took out a teacup and poured a cup of water for her husband. Her husband had given her an idea. The Empress was like a primary school student, sitting upright. How should I establish my might? Let's establish our might through martial arts. Yi Hua said in a deep voice. I am not going to participate in the martial arts competition. How am I going to establish my prestige? Dong Huang Baiji said confusedly. Qingya said with a slight smile, Baiji, to other people, taking down Voidless Realm is an extremely rare opportunity. Recently, the protests in the north are getting more and more intense, and it's not like there aren't any people who want you to step down from your position. You mean the 5 great clans? Do they dare? Dong Huang Baiji's tone gradually changed. This is the Empress that Yi Hua likes. These people, their hearts will be clouded by benefits. Taking a gamble, a bicycle will turn into a motorcycle, and they have the mentality of getting lucky. Yi Hua took a sip of Voidless Realm's tea. This tea is rather tasty. Dong Huang Baiji sneered, even if the 4 great clans join hands, they still won't be my Voidless Realm's opponent. What if it's the entire north? Qingya looked at Dong Huang Baiji and asked. After hearing that, Dong Huang Baiji's eyebrows wrinkled. Qingya continued, perhaps, they don't want to use martial arts to overthrow you, and perhaps, they only want to use words to make you step down from your position. After all, this longevity fruit belongs to the north, and yet, you allowed the south to participate in it. My dear Empress, what do you intend to do after being attacked by the entire north? Yi Hua laughed lightly. Right now, I am already cooperating with Qingya, and I am still going to continue to lead the Empress astray. Dong Huang Baiji remained silent for a long time, and in the end, she shook her head, I don't know. Yi Hua and Qingya smiled but didn't say anything. They looked just like a cunning couple, and Dong Huang Baiji was just like that innocent little sheep that was scared silly. Hurry up and say it, Dong Huang Baiji pouted. These two actually dared to tease me, they are simply too evil. Yi Hua placed down the teacup in his hand, and his gaze flickered with a cold glint. Kill. Qingya seemed to already know Yi Hua's answer as she sat at the side and drank her tea. Seems like after what happened yesterday, Qingya seemed to have calmed down a lot. In the end, Dong Huang Baiji was just an obedient girl. Ever since she inherited the throne, nothing big had happened to her, and she had only been training her Empress aura every day. How could she have done anything like that? Hearing her husband's suggestion, Dong Huang Baiji clearly became unnatural. Could it be that other than killing, there is no other way? Qingya, what do you think? Dong Huang Baiji looked towards Qingya, feeling that Qingya should be able to give the best suggestion. Qingya let out a breath, then looked at Dong Huang Baiji. If they really want to rebel against you, you can only kill them. Unless you choose to step down from the throne and give up Voidless Realm to them. Yi Hua patted onto Qingya's shoulder, expressing that he was very gratified. Our thoughts are finally on the same channel. Right now, we are only lacking the Empress. If that's the case, wouldn't I have become the second Ji family? Donghuang Baiji couldn't help but say. Yi Hua placed Qin Ya's slender hand onto his palm and played with it, then said faintly, Ji family kills people without a reason, and you, Donghuang Baiji, are facing a group of people who want you to step down from your position. There is no need for you to pity them. It is time for the world to know the weight of voidless realm. At the very least, at this moment, Donghuang Baiji's bloodlust was ignited. Voidless realm is just too low profile, and low profile makes people think that voidless realm is afraid of them. Seeing that Donghuang Baiji nodded her head, a trace of an evil smile appeared on the corner of Yi Hua's mouth. All right, let's talk about proper business now. Yi Hua knocked on the table, and his expression became serious. How could Qin Ya not know what Yi Hua was talking about? What happened just now was just a small matter. What happened in bed with Yi Hua was a big matter. Seeing that her husband became serious, Donghuang Baiji became serious as well. Yi Hua, you speak. All right, Qin Ya has already deeply understood the responsibilities of a wife. Right now, as long as you, Baiji, nod your head, I won't have to run around on both sides anymore. Chapter 526. Qin Ya spread out her hands helplessly, indicating that she was already convinced by Yi Hua. Donghuang Baiji didn't expect that Yi Hua would actually be able to convince Qin Ya. In the past, the two of them were fighting together, but now, things are different. Her husband has already instigated one of his men to defect, and right now, she is the only one left to fight alone. There is basically no chance of winning at all, so I might as well just listen to Yi Hua. In any case, she had always been thinking that as a wife, she should still satisfy her husband's needs. However, Yi Hua, after this martial arts competition ends, I will promise you. The Empress slightly lowered her head and said softly. Yi Hua was overjoyed. Finally, my dream is going to come true. This feels great. Promise me what? Yi Hua looked at the Empress and asked seriously. Donghuang Baiji rolled her eyes at Yi Hua and said coquettishly, sleep together with you. After finished speaking, she ran out of the bar shyly. This caused Yi Hua to laugh out loud happily. Are you happy now? Qin Ya rolled her eyes at her husband. Yi Hua's laughter could be counted with one hand. Seems like he is really happy. Yi Hua hugged onto Qin Ya. I am really too happy. You are still acting cool in front of your wife again? Qin Ya poked onto Yi Hua's forehead, then conveniently lied into her husband's embrace. In this world, only the two of them dared to poke onto Yi Hua's forehead. In the next 2 months, there will be endless surprises. Yi Hua kept away his smile and said faintly. Qin Ya's beautiful eyes flickered with determination. Since I have already done it, then I will continue doing it. In the blink of an eye, 1 month passed by. It was already the end of November, and there was only 1 month left until the martial arts competition. The protests in the north did not have any signs of weakening, and instead, it was becoming more and more intense. Yi Hua did not care about it and allowed them to create as much trouble as they want. The more trouble they create, the better. After all, I have to give others hope, right? And what made Yi Hua surprised was that, recently, Leisure Bar's business had picked up, and at night, the bar was actually still filled with people. This is simply unimaginable. After Yi Hua asked, he found out that it was all because of the blood demon. It must be said that the power of a handsome guy was still very big. Right now, not only was the blood demon a floor cleaner, he had also learned how to mix drinks. And this kind of handsome bartender cum hygienist became very popular in a short while. A lot of girls came to Leisure Bar out of admiration, and they even went on TikTok. Right now, Leisure Bar could be said to be a little popular. If those who came to Long and City for a vacation didn't come to Leisure Bar to look at the handsome guy, then they would really have come in vain. Right now, Blood Devil was doing very well. Aside from his lack of strength, he was no different from usual. It seemed that Blood Devil had chosen to specialize in other skills. He was truly a multifaceted talent. That afternoon, Yi Hua decided to hold a crayfish feast to repay all of his subordinates for their hard work. Within the lounge of Leisure Bar, the Green and Red brothers were currently setting up the tables. All of the tables were connected together, forming a rectangular shape. Meanwhile, the women were currently gathered together and whispering to each other. Even Qingya and Donghuang Baiji had already blended into the conversation and were currently discussing about cosmetics that they would not be using at all. This time, there were two new faces. They were the Blood Tribe sisters. They had officially become LV Shu's girlfriends, and it was said that they were planning to get married. On the other hand, Brett seemed to be very unsociable. He was leaning against a corner, and no one knew what he was thinking. Of course, the men talked about the big things men should talk about. Lai Gu said gravely, "Zhu Tian, if you were to be a coward, you would be able to see the world." Wei Chang nodded his head. "That's right. Look at Brett, he is so pitiful." Yi Hua leaned against the bar counter and said faintly, "I feel that Blood Devil and Brett are quite compatible." Blood Devil, who was at the side, was startled, and he hurriedly kneeled down. "Thank you, Your Honor, for granting my wish." Hearing that, Zhu Tian's eyes immediately became filled with killing intent, scaring Blood Devil to the point that he was trembling. Yi Hua saw that and said faintly, "Zhu Tian, since you don't want to, then just let go and let Brett pursue his own happiness." "Your Honor's words are timely. Bestow Brett to this subordinate." Lai Gu was the first to shout out. Zhu Tian suddenly took a step forward. His meaning was very clear. "Try saying that again." "You are just standing in the latrine without taking a shit." Lai Gu was just joking. That Brett is basically not paying attention to me at all. Unknowingly, when Yizizi was standing behind Lai Gu, and upon hearing what Lai Gu said, she immediately shouted out towards Brett, "Oh Basin, Lai Gu said that you are a latrine." Lai Gu gnashed his teeth in anger. This little lowly is speaking nonsense again and affecting the friendship between us. "Your Honor, give me a bit more time, I will definitely give you an explanation." Zhu Tian cupped his hands and shouted out lightly. "All right, I will give you a bit more time. I hope that you can cherish this time." "Thank you, Your Honor." And when Qingya and Donghuang Baiji saw Brett, who was hiding at the side, the two walked over and prepared to properly persuade Brett. Brett stood straight and shouted out respectfully, "Subordinate pays his respects to the two madams." The two women were speechless towards Yi Hua's nickname. To actually want his subordinate to call him Your Honor, he is too good at acting cool. In the future, I will have to call him Act Tough King Yi. "Brett, let's sit down and have a chat." Without even thinking, Brett kneeled down and said respectfully, "Madams, subordinate knows the reason why you two came here. Subordinate will definitely not have any relations with Zhu Tian." Brett's firmness made Qingya and Donghuang Baiji feel helpless. They basically don't know how to persuade Brett. "Brett, Zhu actually came here to beg us before." Qingya pulled Brett up and said attentively. Donghuang Baiji, who was at the side, went into a daze. When did he come here? However, very quickly, Donghuang Baiji understood Qingya's intention. Brett lowered his head and remained silent. Qingya continued, "Although Zhu Tian lied to you, and we deeply despise him for this, you need to know that His Honor is also a swindler." The corner of Yi Hua's mouth, who was not far away, twitched. What Qingya said is right. "Brett, look at me, I was abandoned by Yi Hua for 3 years, and yet didn't we still reconcile with each other? Although he is full of lies, I am still willing to believe in him." Donghuang Baiji comforted Brett. However, Yi Hua was very gloomy. "You two actually brought me out to talk about this matter, isn't this a bit too sloppy?" "That's right, Yi Hua also lied to us about many things, and we have also quarreled with each other before. However, it is precisely because of this that we cherish the present even more." When Qingya thought back to the past, she truly sighed with emotion. Seeing that Brett's gaze was different, the two women stopped talking. "Brett, think about it properly. In actuality, there are a lot of white lies." When Yi Hua heard what Qingya said, he agreed with what Qingya said. "All of the white lies that I, the Supreme Overlord, have said are all white lies. Isn't it all because of you two foolish women?" At the middle hall, Donghuang Li's petite figure was currently moving a chair that was even taller than herself. Chapter 527. Dong Huangli said with a look as if she was the boss. I am the boss of the buried love family, and you two are my left and right guards. How can you order the boss around? Yi Hong's mood was very good recently, and he said with a smile, it's precisely because you are the boss, you can just leave this kind of menial work to us left and right guards. Aya, Uncle Green, Uncle Red, you two are so long-winded, hurry up and move the food delivery is coming soon. Green and Red brothers felt helpless. Little Honor is still as cute as always. Following the departure of the two madams, the women began discussing about the deeper problems. This made Tang Wei and Sun Fong very gloomy, and they were unable to get a word in. Even Zishan was able to speak clearly and logically, and she had already left the group of living widows. Very quickly, the crayfish delivery arrived. The women began getting busy, and the men took the lead and sat at the table. If a wife isn't used to do work, what's the point of having a wife? After the women placed all the food on the table, they slowly sat down. They were very orderly and very well behaved. This made Yihua feel very gratified. As expected of my subordinates, their position in the family should be very high. After pouring a cup of wine, Yihua stood up. Following that, everyone raised their cups and stood up as well. Any one of the men present would be able to overturn the seas and rivers. Other than the blood demon, any one of the women present would be incomparably beautiful. This was a table full of big shots, and Yihua was the big shot among the big shots. Everyone, you have worked hard. Yihua swept his gaze across everyone and shouted out gravely. Your Honor, you have worked hard. This group of people simply cooperated well with each other, and they shouted out their slogan very well. Yihua nodded his head. Let us shout out our slogan one more time. When this sentence came out, everyone became stupefied. When did we have a slogan? Why didn't we know about it at all? We didn't have a slogan in the past either. The blood demon immediately shouted out, Your Honor shall live forever, unify the world. Everyone looked towards the blood demon. To be able to flatter to such an extent, this is also a skill. Qingya and Donghuang Baiji were both amused by the blood demon. Is this the legendary blood demon that is going to bring disaster to the world? He is actually a bootlicker. Daddy is invincible. Dong Huangli raised her wine cup and shouted out. It seems like His Honor really knows how to speak. His Honor's words are simple and clear. These 3 words are enough to set off His Honor's greatness. Everyone shouted in unison, Papa is invincible. Then, they drank it in one gulp. The corner of Yihua's mouth twitched slightly, and Qing Yutong's face froze. Just now I wasn't deaf, right? Puff. Everyone realized that they had said the wrong thing just now, and they all spat it out. I, the Supreme Overlord, have actually taken in so many sons and daughters today. Yihua was having a headache. Why don't all of my subordinates bring their brains with them? Actually, at the start, Lai Gu was the one who shouted out, and the moment his voice carried a rhythm, everyone followed along and shouted out. In the end, he called out the wrong name. Ha! Everyone couldn't help but laugh out loud, and Yihua shook his head helplessly. The intelligence of my subordinates is worrying. Dong Huangli was simply about to burst into laughter. All right, sit down. Fortunately, there are no outsiders here. Yihua said faintly. You guys really know how to call Daddy. It's fine if you call me Daddy, but if you call someone else Daddy, then don't admit that you are my subordinate, right? You guys are too brainless. Qingya and Donghuang Baiji laughed to the point that tears were coming out of their eyes. My husband's subordinates are truly amusing. However, the atmosphere at the start was rather good. Amidst laughter, everyone was eating crayfish. What was worth noting was that all of the women were peeling crayfish for their men. They were completely copying Yihua. This is why, like boss, like subordinates. Donghuang Baiji, who was peeling crayfish, suddenly let out a retch. Yihua wrinkled his brows and took a look, then asked with concern, What's wrong? Oh, nothing much, I just feel a bit nauseous. Donghuang Baiji smiled, then continued peeling crayfish for her husband and child. However, not long after, Donghuang Baiji let out another retch, then hurriedly covered her retch and ran to the washroom at the back. Donghuang Baiji's actions caused all of the women present to think of something. After waiting for a long time, Dong Huang Baiji walked back, and her complexion looked a bit lacking. Baiji, you can't be pregnant, right? Qingye asked seriously. Yi Hua didn't react to what Dong Huang Baiji meant. In actuality, Dong Huang Baiji had a reaction for the past few days. She also knew that she was pregnant, and she wanted to give her husband a surprise. Dong Huang Baiji revealed out a light smile, then stretched out her hand and rubbed onto her flat abdomen. Yi Hua and I are going to have another child. After getting Dong Huang Baiji's affirmation, everyone became stupefied. Soon after, everyone stood up, moved their chairs away, then half knelt down and shouted out, "Congratulations, Your Honor! Congratulations, Your Honor! Congratulations, you are going to have a child." Yi Hua felt that his brain was a bit unable to process what was going on. He looked at Dong Huang Baiji stupidly, then looked at Dong Huang Baiji's abdomen. A faint bloodline aura was being emitted out from Dong Huang Baiji's abdomen. "Baiji, you are pregnant?" Yi Hua was extremely shocked. This was too sudden, I wasn't prepared in the slightest. Towards the issue of having children, Yi Hua had always placed a lot of importance on it. He hoped that his bloodline would flourish, the more the better. Dong Huang Baiji nodded her head happily. We are going to have our second child. This is great. Yi Hua hugged onto Dong Huang Baiji and started circling around excitedly. All of Yi Hua's subordinates were also happy for his honor. The more children his honor has, the more stable his power will be. This is great, Ali will have 2 little brothers. Dong Huang Li clapped her hands happily. In the future, I will be the big sister, and I will be able to bring my little brothers out to have fun. Qingye was also happy for her husband. Back then, when Baiji gave birth to a child, Yi Hua wasn't by her side. This time, Yi Hua can finally be at ease to accompany Baiji. Today, Your Honor is very happy. Give me another serving of crayfish. Everyone, Yi Hua held onto his 2 wives' hands and was very happy. They are the ones who have contributed greatly to the family. They are the ones who gave birth to my children and continued my bloodline. Right now, Yi Hua really wanted to celebrate with the world and let everyone feel the joy of his main body. In order to thank his 2 wives, Yi Hua unprecedentedly peeled crayfish for Qingye and Dong Huang Baiji to reward them. The crayfish feast ended in this kind of joyous atmosphere. On this night, for the first time, Yi Hua didn't make a move on Dong Huang Baiji. He just hugged onto Dong Huang Baiji and talked about some things that happened in the past. This kind of warmth made Dong Huang Baiji feel happiness. I am finally pregnant with my second child. However, in the following month, Yi Hua found out that it wasn't a good thing for 2 women to get pregnant at the same time, because right now, they couldn't even touch each other. Qingye said that she was currently in the late stages of pregnancy, and thus, she shouldn't do that anymore. On the other hand, Dong Huang Baiji said that she had just gotten pregnant, and thus, she shouldn't do any intense exercise. I, the Supreme Overlord, just want to say, is my child that weak? Do you think that he will die just like that? What kind of twisted logic was that? Chapter 528. As the organizer of this event, Voidless Realm leveled all of Ji Family's ruins and built a temporary residence at the side of Ji Family's ruins. Although the temporary residence wasn't a high-end 5-star hotel, the temporary residence was still a tavern. The temporary residence was built with wood, and most of the trees in the surroundings had already been chopped down. A large arena had been constructed in the center of the arena. It was at least the size of 4 basketball courts, and seats were arranged around the arena. Of course, the Empress would definitely be sitting in a different seat. She would be sitting on a separate platform, and there were also seats specially arranged for the winner. Although they were enemies, he still had to put on an act. He couldn't lose his magnanimity. Within Voidless Realm's Empress' personal bedroom, Yi Hua was currently leaning against a chair and silently smoking a cigarette while looking at the blue sky and white clouds. Of course, there was also the nagging of his 2 wives behind him. Although the martial arts competition had not yet begun, the people of the North and South had already fought a few times. Although there were no casualties, it was still unreasonable. You two should just speak less. It is extremely normal for men to fight each other. Yi Hua shook his head. To think that you two would want to interfere in this kind of matter, I really have to give it to you. Dong Huang Baiji said tenderly, Yi Hua, go to the balcony and smoke. Qinya and I are both pregnant. All right, if the two of you get pregnant, you will be the boss. Yi Hua had already experienced it this month. Any random matter could involve the issue of the child. Furthermore, Qinya should be giving birth in another 2 months. Her stomach is already bulging out. Baiji, the 5 great families from the north and the 4 great families from the south have already arrived. Absolute Heaven is one of our own, so he is not counted. The people from the Ying family should also arrive today. Qinya muttered. Even now, there are still people who are standing outside and holding up banners to protest, just who gave them the guts to do so. Dong Huang Baiji rubbed onto her forehead. Southerners only want the longevity fruit, while the northern 4 influential families want the entire voidless realm. That's right. If we were to provoke a fight between the 2 sides, the situation would become even more out of control. Qinya said faintly. Yi Hua couldn't help but say, the 2 of you are really stupid after being pregnant. Baiji, what you have to do right now is to watch the competition, then give out the rewards and wait for some people to jump out. In these few days, don't bother about anything, don't do anything. Yi Hua's suggestion is not bad. We will bide our time for the next few days. Qinya felt that her husband's method was feasible. The reason why they were forcing the Empress like this was definitely because they wanted the Empress to step forward, but the Empress refused to step forward, causing them to be at their wits' end. That's the only way. Now that Dong Huang Baiji had a child, she became even more careful. No matter what problem she had, she would always take the child into consideration. Thus, Dong Huang Baiji couldn't be so carefree anymore. Yi Hua extinguished the cigarette but, Baiji, your current task is to let the competition continue as normal until the competition ends. As for the rest, leave it to me. And Yi Hua, it has been hard on you. Dong Huang Baiji felt that if Yi Hua wasn't by her side, she would be at a loss. It's good that you know that it has been hard on me. I let you guys have your way again. After finished speaking, Yi Hua walked out of the room. Qinya and Dong Huang Baiji looked at each other and smiled. In actuality, it was rather interesting to see Yi Hua's distressed look. After arriving at another room, Yi Hua called Zhu Tian and Brett over. When the 2 of them appeared at the same time, Yi Hua could feel Brett's hostility and Absolute Heaven's intention to reconcile with Brett. This Absolute Heaven, if he knew this would happen, why did he do it in the beginning? I called you here to ask about something. Brett and Absolute Heaven distanced themselves from each other, then half kneeled onto the ground. Absolute Heaven was helpless as well, and thus, half kneeled onto the ground as well. Subordinate pays respect to your honor. Everyone get up. Yi Hua stretched out his hand and lightly waved. Brett, is there any movement from your side? Did they sneak into the competition? Yi Hua asked. Reporting to your honor, Qing Tian and the others did not make any movements. Brett's reply caused Yi Hua to be a bit disappointed. On the contrary, I was hoping that Qing Tian and the others would appear and capture all of them at once. After all, the martial arts competition this time around is an event that will shake the entire North and South. Don't they want to come over and fish up some benefits? Brett, continue to keep an eye on them. If there is any big movement, immediately report to me. Yes. Then, subordinate will take my leave. Yi Hua took a look at Absolute Heaven, seemingly wanting to say, don't you have anything to say? Such a good opportunity. Absolute Heaven understood what his honor meant, and he said slowly, Brett. Absolute Heaven. His honor told you to come here to report your mission. Do not be rude in front of his honor. Brett shouted out gravely, not giving Absolute Heaven any face at all. Absolute Heaven was immediately left speechless. After doing such a shameful thing, I don't even have the confidence to speak anymore. Brett, you can leave first. Yi Hua waved his hand. Thank you, Your Honor. After finished speaking, Brett immediately disappeared. Yi Hua stood up, then said lightly, If I were you, I would have directly pushed Brett down just now. Your Honor. Forget it, you have already become an indecisive and sickly cat. Tell me about the situation. What are those 4 aristocratic families planning to do? Absolute Heaven took a breath, adjusted his state of mind, then said respectfully, just like what Your Honor guessed, they are indeed planning to force the Emperor to abdicate. Their guts sure are big. Yi Hua snorted coldly. The 4 aristocratic families are planning to use all of the powers in the north to force the Emperor to abdicate. Subordinate believes that they will lose the competition this time around and hand over the greatest harvest to the southern aristocratic families, thereby infuriating the north. Yi Hua took out a stick of cigarette and lit it. This idea is not bad. This method is feasible. Your Honor, do you need subordinate to make any arrangements? Absolute Heaven asked. No need, you just need to do what you are supposed to do. The competition this time around is just a pretense. The process isn't important. The day when the competition ends will be the start of the show. Yi Hua really wanted that day to come sooner, because some people were already impatient to die. Don't you know that my woman cannot be provoked? I was even able to exterminate such a huge heaven's mansion, let alone this small aristocratic family. Subordinate understands. Go! What Yi Hua was thinking about right now was how they would play their cards during the competition that would end a few days later, and how he should play his cards. Of course, he couldn't use a trump card right from the start, because that would be too damaging to other people's confidence. He had to make them mistakenly think that they would win, and only then would they find out that they were just a bunch of useless salted fish. Right now, all of the inns around Ji family were filled with people, and there was even a 38th parallel. The powers in the north and the powers in the south, whoever dares to cross the 38th parallel will immediately start fighting with each other. Chen Xuanzong, who was a demon emperor, was currently meeting with a woman, and the woman was Duan family's Empress Duan. Empress Duan, are you trying to drag me into a pit of fire? Chen Xuanzong looked at the woman in front of him. Although the woman was wearing a veil, Chen Xuanzong could still feel the cold aura coming from her. Chapter 529. Hearing Duan Ho's words, Chen Xuanzong laughed. Duan Ho, Chen Xuanzong, will become a family master sooner or later. There is no need for me to seek shortcuts. After laughing, Chen Xuanzong's face tensed up and said softly. Duan Ho frowned, and the face under the veil was a little moved. Chen Xuanzong, I saw that you have a bit of potential, that's why I came to invite you personally. Don't refuse a toast only to drink a forfeit. Duan Ho, I will tell you everything. I will not go against Voidless Realm. If anyone dares to disrespect Voidless Realm, don't blame me for being impolite. Chen Xuanzong wasn't someone to be trifled with. As a demon emperor, he had the dignity of a demon emperor. Knowing that Qingya was with the Empress, Chen Xuanzong naturally wouldn't help others to bully Qingya or Voidless Realm which Qingya was in. As long as Qingya was in trouble, he, Chen Xuanzong, would rush over to save her even if he had to sacrifice his life. Good. Very good. After this matter is settled, no one will be able to save your Chen family. Duan Ho snorted coldly, then turned around and left. This Chen Xuanzong is truly a reckless youngster. He really thinks that he is a rookie and is starting to get arrogant. Chen Xuanzong didn't care about Duan Ho's threat at all and seemed very calm. After Duan Ho left, Chen Xuanzong stood up and looked towards the Empress's bedroom. He wasn't looking at the Empress, but at the woman that he had always liked, Qingya. Even if Qingya is already pregnant with Long Outyan's child, I will not give up on Qingya. I will use this life to protect Qingya and not let her suffer any harm. No one is allowed to harm the woman that they like. In a row of inns in the south, in an unremarkable ordinary room, a youngster was currently sitting cross-legged on the bed. Both of his hands were placed on his knees and were emitting a faint golden light. After a long time, the youngster slowly opened his eyes and muttered, "Seems like I haven't swallowed enough. When will it end?" This youngster was Qi Shuwen, the student who saved the arowana. At that time, he still had some thoughts about Tang Wei. However, after the banquet incident, he didn't have the face to pursue her anymore and focused on swallowing all kinds of fishes in the sea. Moreover, he was doing quite well now. In the entire South, he was considered one of the more outstanding rising stars. This time, he had come to participate in the martial arts competition to train himself. If he could obtain a longevity fruit, that would be the best thing. He had heard that the longevity fruit not only had the effect of extending one's lifespan, but it could also raise one's cultivation to the next level. It was a treasure. Otherwise, why would the entire South be so crazy about it? Dong dong dong. Suddenly, there was a knock on the door. Qi Shuwen smiled and went to open the door. Brother Qi, how do you feel? The man standing outside was about the same age as Qi Shuwen. He looked a little rough, with a square face and sideburns. However, when he smiled, he gave off a very kind feeling. Qi Shuwen said with a laugh, Comrade Xinba, are you teasing me again? Ha, Brother Qi really knows how to joke. How could I come here to tease you? I just came to see you. Xinba patted Qi Shuwen's shoulder and grinned, revealing a mouthful of white teeth. Qi Shuwen got to know Xinba at a banquet, and it might be because both of them didn't like that kind of scene, that's why they started chatting together. Furthermore, both of them were newly established families, so it would be good for them to take care of each other in an alliance. The two sat beside the round wooden table, and Qi Shuwen poured a cup of water for Xinba. Xinba had a smile on his face, but in his mind he was having a conversation with an old grandpa. Could it be that this is the rumored old grandpa who always carries around with him? Indeed, this is the case. Even now, Xinba's memory was still fresh in his mind. He spent 10 RMB to buy a jade pendant at the antique market, and suddenly, one night, the jade pendant shone brightly, and a person who called himself Crazy Grandpa appeared in his mind. Crazy Grandpa said that he would be able to turn Xinba into an unparalleled expert, and after Xinba became stronger, he would help Crazy Grandpa take revenge. This was simply like the plot of a novel, and Xinba didn't even have time to react. After getting along with Crazy Grandpa for a few years, this Crazy Grandpa was no different from his own grandpa. Furthermore, with the help of Crazy Grandpa, Xinba established his own family and became the family head. However, Crazy Grandpa said that this was just the beginning. Xinba, you have to properly befriend this little brother in front of you. This person has the protection of a divine dragon, and in the future, he will become a strong ally of yours. Crazy Grandpa said faintly in Xinba's mind. Crazy Grandpa, even if you didn't say this, I would still befriend Qi Shuwen. It isn't easy to befriend a good friend. Xinba sighed. After establishing his own family, only then did he realize that if there wasn't any benefits involved, there wouldn't be any friends at all. Crazy Grandpa let out a sigh. Xinba, no matter what you do, you have to be cautious. I have seen too many things like this. Crazy Grandpa, if I have to be cautious even when making friends, it would really be very tiring. Xinba was relatively kind-hearted and pure, and this made Crazy Grandpa feel helpless. This kind of personality is really not easy to mingle with, and it is very easy to be cheated by others. Crazy Grandpa let out a sigh. Do as you wish. During the martial arts competition this time around, you have to be extra careful. I feel that the drunkard has ulterior motives, and something big is going to happen. And I understand. After finished speaking, the two of them ended their conversation. Of course, this conversation was only finished while they were drinking tea. Brother Qi, speaking of which, I am a bit excited. This place used to be the territory of the South's big shots. Xinba grinned. He was truly excited, and what he said wasn't a lie. Qi Shuwen appeared to be a bit indifferent as he said, That's right, the annihilation of Ji family is also a mystery. The water in the South is very deep, Xinba. You have to be careful. Hearing such a reminder, Xinba expressed that he was very happy. This is what friends look out for each other. Brother Qi, the same goes for you. I heard that the martial arts competition this time around is different, and something might happen. Xinba was also a kind person. If other people are good to him, then he will be good to other people. That's right, Voidless Realm's way of doing things is breaking the precedent. I heard that the families and aristocratic families in the north are all making a huge fuss over this. I'm afraid that something might happen. Qi Shuwen was a bit worried. Towards those big shots, the current me is truly powerless. Perhaps, in a few more years, I will be able to sit on the same level as them. Xen Ba drank the tea in one gulp, then said with a smile, Brother Qi, you don't have to worry too much. Our South's big shot, Ing family, will be coming today as well. Could it be that Voidless Realm is going to make a move against us? That's true. Ing family is a very powerful existence. Qi Shuwen said with a light smile. Right now, I can only grow wretchedly. I cannot become cannon fodder. Xen Ba suddenly said in a low voice. Actually, being able to see the Empress's face, this trip was not made in vain. You brat. Qi Shuwen patted onto Xen Ba's shoulder with a smile. Chapter 530. Qi Shuwen smiled lightly and said, The Empress of the North is indeed extremely beautiful. I should take a good look at this kind of woman. Look at your disappointed tone. Wait for a few decades when we rise up. At that time, we will stand at the peak and look at the world. How great would that be? Desire appeared in Xen Ba's eyes. He also wanted to obtain supreme power and make those people who looked down on him regret. Every man has ambition. If not, they wouldn't go and establish a family. Xen Ba was like this, and Qi Shuwen was even more so. Alright, this time, let's let the Northerners see our strength. Qi Shuwen's gaze became serious. It is time for me to display my strength in front of the world and let the entire cultivation world see. There is a small family in the south, and the family head is called Qi Shuwen. Alright, let's work hard together and create a new era. The two tightly held onto each other's hands and looked at each other. At this time, there should be a BGM. Confirmed the look in their eyes. Right at this moment, a clamor sounded out from outside. Soon after, the two walked to the balcony outside, and a group of silver-armored warriors could be seen in the distance. They were holding onto a flag, and a big Ing word was printed on the flag. The uniform footsteps gradually became louder, giving off a strong aura. All of the family heads in the south looked at the Ing family that was gradually walking over, and their eyes flickered with excitement. This is the big shot of the south, Ing family. This is the first time that Ing family has appeared in front of the public, and as expected, their aura is extraordinary. Xen Ba looked at Ing family that was not far away, and his expression became stiff. This is the big shot of the south, Ing family? So impressive. That's right. Even the guards around them might be stronger than us. Seeing such a scene, Qi Shuwen immediately felt a sense of defeat, but at the same time, it also motivated him to move forward. One day, I will also be able to enjoy the admiration of everyone like this. Ing family's people quickly stepped into the housing area, and cheers immediately rang out. That excited look on their faces made it seem as if they had seen a strong backing. In actuality, the entire South's family head was becoming younger. After all, those old family heads had all died in G family, which caused the South's family head to become younger, and the overall strength of the South's family head was declining. However, these young family heads would also become the mainstay of the South in the near future. It was just that this matter needed time to be polished. That is Ing family's family head. Xen Ba looked at the man who was riding on the beast and muttered, It should be. Qi Shuwen said blankly. The person riding on the flame cloud cheetah was none other than Ing Jingshan. This time, his son, Ing Kongsher, came along as well, the man whose balls were stomped on by Qin Yutong and Yi Zizi, commonly known as the wick to extinguish. 4 figures instantly appeared in front of the Ing family's army. The 4 people who came were the heads of the 4 great families of the south. Wusheng, Diaolang, Hitian, Murongji. We respectfully welcome the Ing clan's patriarch. The 4 of them knelt on one knee. As the heads of the aristocratic families knelt to welcome him, the other heads of the ordinary families also knelt to welcome him. Even Qi Shuwen and Xen Ba, who were standing on the balcony, did the same. After all, even the patriarchs of the aristocratic families had knelt down, so why wouldn't these little patriarchs kneel? He couldn't afford to wear the hat of disrespect. In the entire Ing family, Only Ing Jingshan was riding on a mutated beast. Seeing this scene, Ing Kangshi, who was standing behind Ing Jingshan, was secretly delighted. He hadn't been out for a long time and had gotten used to the servants' respect at home. Now that he had finally followed his father outside, he was able to enjoy a different kind of pleasure. Moreover, ever since the skeleton and the woman left, the entire Ing family had been reborn. It was no different from before. Now that I am here, I can finally see the Empress. In my heart, the Empress is my fiancée. You mortals probably don't know about this yet, right? If you knew, you would definitely be envious of me. Ing Jingshan waved his hand, and a formless power lifted everyone up from the ground. This move of Ing Jingshan shocked all of the small family heads present. What a powerful man! Xenba mumbled. Qi Shuwen said in shock. To be able to casually materialize spiritual energy, as expected of Ing family's patriarch. Ing Jingshan's appearance greatly boosted the morale of all the powers in the south. After all, Voidless Realm's Empress was overseeing the north, and the south could only look forward to Ing Jingshan's arrival. Furthermore, Ing Jingshan was able to suppress all of the small family heads in an instant, causing them to worship Ing Jingshan endlessly. Ing Jingshan waved his hand, and the group walked towards the tallest tavern that was not far away from them. Although the tavern was the tallest, it was only 3 floors tall, and it was very different from the Empress's bedroom. Donghuang Baiji was doing this on purpose to make Ing family look bad. This woman is someone who holds grudges. Ing family's group stopped at the side of the tavern, and the guards sealed off the entire tavern from inside out. The entire tavern looked very formal and dignified, causing people to not dare to have any fanciful thoughts. Ing Jingshan took a look at the tavern in front of him and didn't say anything. He didn't dare to have any requests either. In actuality, as long as there is a place to stay, it will be fine. As Ing Jingshan and the 4 big family heads walked into the tavern, the surrounding small family heads began to clamor. This voidless realm is truly going too far. To actually arrange such a place for our big shots to stay, they are looking down on us too much. That's right, that Empress is staying in such a high-class place, and for Ing family to stay in such a place, they are truly hateful. What can we do about this? Voidless Realm is the organizer of this event, and Ing family is only here to cheer us on. This Voidless Realm is truly hateful. My Empress is definitely being held hostage. If not, she wouldn't do such a thing. That's right, the Empress is so beautiful, how could she possibly do such a thing? Hearing this group of people talking about his fiancée, Ing Kangshi sneered in his heart. You bunch of trash, are you even qualified to talk about my fiancée behind my back? How reckless! Xenba, who was standing on the balcony, asked curiously, that young man should be Ing family's son, right? He looks quite good. Xenba didn't know how to describe it. Cold and gloomy, Qi Shuwen said lightly. Xenba immediately covered Qi Shuwen's mouth. Lower your voice. Don't let anyone hear it. Otherwise, it's over. Qi Shuwen nodded. He didn't think too much just now and just said it casually. However, upon thinking of the consequences, Qi Shuwen's back felt a bit cold. I wonder what kind of crime it is to insult the son of Ing family. Looking at the arrogant look on Ing Kangshi's face, Qi Shuwen said in a low voice, reincarnation is a skill. That's right, there are some people who are born with a golden stick in their mouth, and we have to go through unremitting hard work in order to be able to obtain the things that are within their reach. Xenba let out a sigh. I have trained bitterly in order to obtain my current situation, and other people, they really couldn't be compared. Qi Shuwen patted Xenba on the shoulder. Let's work hard, and maybe our children will enjoy the admiration of everyone. That's right. Work hard. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.